he tried to explain to me how they were automating fence digging. And I was like, yeah, bro, I if I had to wager money, I don't know that you've dug any fences in your life, and you're talking to a rancher about how to dig fences and what a post hole digger looks like. I mean, I don't. It was. I knew that was probably not a good line of thought. He's pretty good at like a generalist. And then I also noticed whenever he asked, so I like we kind of did the main topic, and it was kind of slowing down, and then the Pengburn asked, "Oh, on the last 5 minutes," he goes, "Oh, well, do you have anything else?" So then I was like, "Okay, I think I've got my dub. Let's open this up a little bit so he can get his content or his arguments in." And then that one got pretty entertaining. There was some good laughs in the crowd. I think we both had some good clips. But yeah, I think resounding success, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know about what y'all thought, but yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I did good. I didn't know I didn't know that it was happening. I just saw
you were. I have something. The way you were dressed, though, you genuinely look like a John Wick villain. Like you walked in, the velvet, like it's pure. It's all velvet, right? It's a velvet suit.
It's silk, but yeah,
silk suit, incredible.
Legit. Silk suit is legit.
Yeah,
hell yeah, dude.
I was like, and the other thing is like the showmanship. Like, okay, it's prime time on a Thursday night, guys. Like, if you're gonna go somewhere on the weekend and you're doing an event, like. Just gonna look you up. I don't know why people don't do that more often, especially in the debate space. I also think wearing a suit in general gives you an air of like legitimacy for like when you go to do speaking events. Like I'm gonna trust the guy in the suit somewhat more than I see the guy in like a t-shirt, like in blue jeans, unless it's like with a bunch of billionaires. I don't know why that is. No offense, but like I think it genuinely gives you an air of respectability, kind of thing. And
I mean, I think a suit can
tell that to Zelensky.
Ethos. Yeah, well,
I think, yeah, right. Well, I was actually just about to bring up Zelensky, but yeah, it depends on what it is that you are trying to sell, right? So in Zelensky's example, he's trying to sell the concept that of war and the concept of like being a general and being a soldier and that this is a fight, right? Like he doesn't want to, he's not trying to like, it's like this now isn't the time for respectability in suits. Now it's the same thing with like it's the same thing when you saw like Democrat politicians and Republicans used to do this. The older people here will remember, right? The Gen Z won't remember. There used to be this like you'd see Obama, for example, he would go give a speech somewhere in a suit. And then he'd go talk to like a factory somewhere, and the suit jacket would come off, and the
shirt sleeves
would get rolled up to your elbows.
Yeah, it's
like the dude's fucking doing factory work at the hydraulics plant or some shit. Like he's just there to talk to people, right? But it all depends on what it is that you're selling. And like I do think like wearing a suit, wearing good clothes can sell that ethos of that. But sometimes you want the opposite effect, right? Sometimes you want people to undersell yourself, right? As like, oh, I'm just a normal streamer. I'm just like everybody else. I'm just a dude in my basement, right? And then just utterly cook the other person. Against Destiny, maybe that's not a good idea, but against somebody that feels the need to dress up in a suit, that is like, I'm a professor of economics and I'm going to debate you. Like if I was going to go debate some communist professor of economics on econ, some economic issue, I might show up in sweatpants and a hoodie, and people are like, look at this joke of a guy. And then it really makes them look more pathetic because I'm very confident that in an econ debate against a Marxist, I'm going to utterly fucking cook them the entire time. And then it makes them look even worse because I'm just a streamer guy from a room somewhere. I'm not like a business suit econ professor like you. So, I mean, it just all depends on, there's different ways to play it, right? And, or Hassan, right? Hassan is constantly, wearing goofy ass designer clothing that makes him look like
it's branding,
he should be at like a runway, with a bunch of fucking degenerates.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that
is a little.
Yeah, that's his branding. Yeah,
and like I think that's the same.
But that is, it is better than that. Is dressing up.
Like, I think it's important. I don't know, branding wise. Go ahead, Prom. Sorry.
No. Sorry, I didn't see this. I didn't know. But I'll take Lactoid's word.
I watched it. It was awesome.
Okay, yeah, I'll take Lactoid's word.
Gibbs was on it.
Okay, yeah, I'll take all your words for it. That he cooked Destiny, Bat Faith.
I don't know if he cooked him, but Gibbs was on it, man. He actually had a, Destiny has a way of running away with things, and Gibbs handled him pretty well, I thought.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he manhandled him.
The biggest thing that I think you did, well, and this is hard to do in a public debate if you're actually there in front of a live audience, is you didn't get caught on anything where like you stammered or took like some time to think. Like you had a response ready to go for every question right away, which made you come across very confident.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, thank you.
Speaking of in person, Lactoid, I've got this event coming up next month.
I've heard.
Yeah, are you going?
You should come out.
Probably not.
Oh, come on, man.
I'm going. I never go to shit like this.
We'll
I'm
be
going.
there.
That's awesome, dude.
Everybody's invited.
Yeah, I feel like Lactoid isn't the go out type.
I like that for you. You know what I mean? Like
That's good shit. Hey, I think Scott brings the heat. I think he would do well in an event like that.
Yeah, but he needs an opponent.
Nuke debate 2
2.0, yeah.
We had a struggle to find something that we would like be able to substantively disagree with over the course of several hours.
I'll tell you what, y'all are about to be having to do the DCS or Contender Series eventually once probably next month after all this.
Yeah, I think I'm against Average Debate Enjoyer for my first.
Yeah, I think that's your first one. Yeah, and then Fabian's got Quintuple, so it'll be good. I'm excited.
So,
maybe y'all can have round 2.
It was funny last night. I had this guy that I kind of bludgeon him about the head occasionally, and and I told him I don't like him. I actually don't like this guy at all. Like I've tried really hard. I just don't like him. And he's like,
who?
Grid
That's the worst insult I've ever heard. I tried really hard to like you, but man, I just
couldn't get there, man. And,
this is so much worse than like hating somebody for a reason. It's just like, dude, I genuinely tried, but just
I've genuinely given
your
not
personality, or you as a human, or your soul, or whatever's behind your eyes. But it's just red flags.
I just don't like it,
man.
I just don't like it. And I've given, and so I told him. So he was like, "Well, I was gonna go, but the Grid probably doesn't want me there." And I'm like, "No, you can come. I don't care. It's free for all. I still don't like you though, but you can still show up. I mean, it's not like I'm not a leftist. I don't ban people I don't like. So
So I'd like to. Congratulations on everyone on anything. As usual. As usual,
thanks.
As usual, I'm out of the loop, so I don't know what anyone's talking about on anything. But
I'm sorry.
No. I remember you mentioned that you were part of an in-person event and you were doing like a pre-show.
Yeah, for DebateCon 6. Yeah.
So I remember that part.
We had a good show too, Prime.
What'd you say?
I said you also got to tell them we had a pretty good show the other night too.
Oh yeah, we did. It was a enjoyable talk with my friend Gibbs. We were on different sides of should the Israel the U.S. drop support for Israel. I thought Gibbs and I had a good conversation. Unfortunately, that bitch ass pussy Tyler was around. He's a bitch, and it. It is what it is. But still,
Tyler. Here's how I feel about Tyler. Right, since you think he's a bitch, here's what I've noticed about Tyler. There are not too many people that get into politics online just for the love of the game. That's how I feel about Tyler. Like Tyler doesn't actually give a fuck. He doesn't have any strong political opinions in any one place or another.
I think that's changed lately.
He's a Zionist. What are you talking about?
Maybe, but it seems like he's in it for the love of the game. Like
initially,
You're machining your voice. Is that me or is that
me?
Might be.
Is my voice machining?
You're saying me?
No, not yours. Yours is fine. Scott wasn't.
No, Scott sounds great.
That sounds good.
I'm hearing you in someone else's speakers somewhere.
I don't know. So maybe it's just on my end, but it's fine. It's fine. If everyone else can hear Scott perfectly well, then keep going.
Well, you were saying I'm wrong. That I don't.
You were explaining that Tyler.
I haven't followed him.
Yeah,
I was just saying. It seems like he doesn't. I don't know. When I noticed that I would think maybe 90% of people that are large accounts with large followings, right, are already bought and paid for by some NGO activist organization, money of some sort, right? Like when I see Bibi Netanyahu and he asks his table of influencers, what's the most important purchase right now? And they all collectively get the answer wrong because he was looking for TikTok, and they all say followers because the entire table admits that Israel bot follows all of their accounts and that everybody else is doing it too, and they know that. When I see somebody that's in it for the love of the game, it's almost like they're transparent in that they're just there to entertain and that they're just there to say whatever. And I almost have more respect for that than the overwhelming majority of pundits that pretend like these opinions are actually their deep, heartfelt, personal opinions of an ideology that they believe in and that they're attempting to promulgate, right? Because like you look at anybody with more than 100 or maybe even more than 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, or like, someone that gets over 150, 200 live viewers on Twitch, a good chunk of those live viewers are going to be bots. A bunch of them are going to be bot subscribed, and a bunch of them are going to get being paid by somebody, be it Progressive Victory or Chorus Media or BB or fucking whoever. And so it's like, I don't know. When I see somebody and it's just like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. I just kind of go wherever the wind blows because I think this is fun. I'm like, all right, I can respect that more than I can respect somebody like, I don't know, Not So Erudite that like is, tied to her pedophile friend because she can't fucking, because like that's where the money flows.
Yeah. So
I
anyway,
disagree.
Tyler. Yeah, we got you first.
I think Tyler does have strong beliefs. I don't think he got on with strong beliefs, but I think he's latched on to some. And my issue is,
I could be wrong on that, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
follow his content that deeply.
Yeah, my issue isn't that he like has the wrong beliefs. It's that he is dishonest, right? Like just like we've had him so many like just straight up lies, right? Not just about like random like whatever topic we're discussing, but about like interpersonal things. Like he lied about Prime never inviting him on again, for example. Like stuff like this that I think is just like just makes you kind of a bitch.
I didn't know that.
I literally have a
I think
screenshot. Like it's bullshit.
AI,
No.
AI screenshots.
AI screenshots. There we go, boys. Photoshop.
Photoshop's back, baby. Let's go.
Photoshop's the dark ages, baby.
But in any case, yeah. So I there's nothing to focus on, but we did have a good conversation. The reason I was trying to transition us to other topics while we're waiting here. I mean, waiting, I guess, only for Corey. But I'm curious where you guys are at. I'm not sure if we should make this a full topic or not. Not until something really explodes. But I am hearing
Knowing
myself
America
through someone
these
else's-
days.
Yeah, you're echoing
Will.
like crazy.
Yes, I'm hearing myself through. I don't know where.
It sounds like you
Um,
have like two mics open or something.
I definitely don't. I shouldn't.
Right. I'm just telling you what
Yeah,
it
yeah,
sounds
yeah,
like. It
yeah, I
sounds
know,
like
yeah,
there's like
anyway.
a laptop mic or something that's also
Can we-
on or something.
Can we just test something? This is like a continuous thing.
Testing.
Everybody hears double.
Do you
I'm
guys
gonna
hear double
mute.
now?
Yeah, it's
I
very
didn't hear
quiet.
double.
I didn't
Yeah.
hear double.
I heard it just like right at the start, then it stopped.
Because
Okay,
I
yeah,
didn't.
Yeah, everyone
I hear it
mute.
now.
I'm going to mute down.
Everyone mute.
I heard
yeah.
it on Admiral Gibbs' side too. So it
Everyone
might
mute.
be coming through somebody else's speaker.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
I think it's Grid's
Everyone-
mic. I think Grid
Yeah,
has
mic.
his thing unmuted and the sound's coming through the mic.
Testing.
Or I did before.
Yeah. Okay. So Grid on mute.
Yeah, can you guys hear through my mic?
Testing.
Testing.
I don't hear it. Oh my god. Okay.
What the fuck?
We're gonna.
I think it was either
It
through
might be
Grid
mine.
or Gibbs.
Yeah.
It's mine. Testing.
Yeah. Well, we'll slowly try to figure it out then. Test. Oh yeah, I think it might be lactoids. The moment you
Yep.
test.
It
Yeah.
might be.
Fucking lactoid, you fucking piece of shit.
Oh my god.
I don't know.
Won't come to fucking Tennessee with us.
Yeah, he
Won't
will.
fucking
Yeah,
get his
he's
microphone
gonna.
shit
He's gonna.
fixed. Won't join the police force as a lawyer. I mean, all of the horrible things.
All the things.
Okay. So while Lactoid, hopefully decides to stop sabotaging my stream. Well,
There's no push to
man.
talk here. That's
Tough
like
room.
how
Tough
I prevent
room.
all these issues before.
So, what I was going to say, ask you guys about is federal troops going to cities, right? We might make this a larger topic. I was saying, like, especially if something explodes, but I want to know where you guys are at. That's why I put that banner down there. The Trump administration has been stopped by a federal judge. There was some late breaking news that I didn't get a chance to look into that might have changed this, but Trump has tried to get the was it the California National Guard at first to go to Portland, and then the Texas National Guard, and then or was it Oklahoma? One of them. Anyway, he tried to get them to go, but then a judge stopped them twice. Then said, "Okay, now no national guards, no matter what state they're in, can go." And there might be late breaking news on that part as well. So again, if I'm giving you misinformation, I apologize. And Trump keeps saying that Portland, Oregon, is up in insurrection. Like there's an insurrection going there. That there's like such a violent crime that needs to be put down by federal troops. Does anyone support this here?
Well, I mean, in my state, my governor just agreed with our state's attorney that he can send the National Guard to Memphis. So I guess I do agree with it. I don't know about Portland because I don't really.
Do you agree with it just because you're governor? Your governor said.
Well,
because your state official said so. Like, why do you agree with it?
Well, because I don't know why anybody would disagree with backing up law enforcement.
I think he means from the legal. I don't think he's being a legal positivist and saying that it is right because the law says it is right. I think he's making the claim. I listen to my legal representatives in my state, and from the explanation given, it appears that it is indeed legal.
Well, at least in this. Sorry, so let me.
I think he's being descriptive here.
Yeah, let me be a little bit more clarifying. In Tennessee, we have a state. In our state constitution, there's a law that says that the governor cannot send the National Guard to reinforce cities or anything like that. They can't use the National Guard without except in a certain number of cases. There's some descriptors there that have to be met. And originally, the state's attorney was kind of like, I don't know, maybe, kind of, sort of. As they dug into it, now they've said, yeah, you know what? You can 100% send the National Guard, Tennessee National Guard, to Memphis to reinforce the police there and perform support role in Tennessee. Now, whether or not that applies to Portland, I don't know because I haven't been paying attention to Portland. I don't honestly give a shit about Portland. I hope honestly, if they burned it down and rebuilt it, I wouldn't be sad. But at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, I don't see any specific problem. And I actually wonder why people have a problem with backing up law enforcement as needed. That seems very odd to me. And I'd really love to hear the reasoning behind it.
Sure. Well, as needed, but they don't need it. Like the governor of
literally have riots, right?
No,
am I wrong about that?
Have riots. No,
am I wrong about that?
Yeah, but that's what Trump has been saying. Trump has been.
It depends on what you define as a riot. Like Portland has had multiple days of protests with people
against ICE
blocking ICE facilities, but I wouldn't classify that as. I mean, it just depends on what your classification is for a riot. They have not had like BLM protests where they're like burning down and like destroying businesses.
They are
fairly controlled.
One of their police chiefs, or their police departments, was saying that, we watched the protests and we literally, and the particular one he was talking about, we made no arrests. We made no arrests because no one was doing anything.
So here's the. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I didn't realize. I thought you paused.
No, it's fine. Whatever. Which are Gibbs or Grid? Which one?
If you don't mind, Grid, I would like to jump in real quick, and then
could I just make the one point? Thank you. So interestingly enough, I kind of looked into this, not just mainly because of what's going on in my state, but if you're actually interfering with federal operations, and interfering can be anything from protesting outside to try and prevent them from doing their work or anything like that. I do believe that Trump would have the authority to send in the National Guard because to back up just the federal troops in and of itself. But the real interesting thing is that most of the you keep when people always, not you necessarily, Prime, but people, I hear this a lot, make the point that, well, the police chiefs aren't asking for it. Well, police chiefs are elected officials. They're not. They have a political. They're in the political game, and I don't know that they're the best indicator of what needs to be happening. I would be much more interested in what the watch commanders and the cops on the street have to say than what the chief of police has to say, since they're a political figurehead and not actually enforcing the law day to day. Now, that's just my opinion, but I'm interested to hear what everybody has to say. And I'm sorry, Gibbs, I interrupt you. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I mean, so all right, I have some friends that live in Portland, and they're basically saying that it's not like a riot, but they're actually taking over the area, right? The business owners can't get there, people that live in the area can't get there, and it's several blocks wide. It's not just it's more like the Chaz than it is like the BLM or like rotate kind of thing is what I've heard it described as. And I mean, I don't know that you could sit here and say that it's not needed. One, we've seen any of the places where we sent the troops, crime has gone dramatically down just because they're able to like guard federal buildings, they're able to help logistically, and that lets the police, have more officers.
Crime has been going, but you acknowledge that crime has been going down this entire time. Like, we've been in a downward slope.
Well,
all across the board, right?
Sure. Well, no, I don't recognize that, and the reason I don't recognize that is because of the Dems' dishonest way they've reclassified crime. Right? Obviously, if we don't enforce, if we don't arrest people like in California, for example, they don't arrest people for any crime that's under $1,000 in theft. Of course, you're going to have less crime reported. Yeah, of course, all the thefts are going to be way
federal
lower.
Crime statistics.
Sure. Well, yeah, because they're reported to you by locals. Like if the local jurisdictions are enforcing the crime, of course they're like enforcing laws. Of course, like for example, if we suddenly, let's just say we all were on board with the,
but that would also mean that you don't have the actual data. That like,
well,
so
yeah,
but one second, if you're saying that that they aren't making arrests, right? Well, then where's the data that like those crimes are actually happening? Like, where are you getting the data?
That's my point right here.
Sure.
So, all right, do you agree if, like, say, let's just call year one, right? Year one, you have 100,000 crimes, right? And then of those, 50,000 of those crimes were under $1,000, enforcement things where they stole from a store. All right, just for the sake of the stars. And then the next year, the local cops is told by their city or state official, hey, we're not going to prosecute any of these crimes that are under $1,000. And so in year two, wow, crime is 50,000%, like it's 50% less than the year before. Well, it's not that crime's 50% less. It's that you have 50% less enforcements and 50% less all these reports.
Sure, what changes in what jurisdictions? Sure, right.
And what I'm saying is, so
have made this shift.
So when I see things like that, right, it's clear.
Well, where do you see them? Where do you see them?
We see them places like Washington D.C. where they openly.
Okay, where can you show me?
Yeah, you can look this up in a second, but I really would like to finish this point real quick, and I'll find the data if you want.
Sorry.
So yeah, I think that when we're reframing it, I do the crime data. Yeah, but back to what I was saying about I've been told by people that it's more like the Chaz, and I definitely don't have a problem with them coming in here and saying, hey, it's time to crack the whip. Y'all are not going to sit here and attack people like this girl that was the Fox News reporter. She was the independent reporter, I think, in Fox News had on. And she was literally attacked. She has a black eye giving an interview. And there was a cop that was watching and then walked this person into an Antifa safe house and didn't arrest him. And, like, while he watched. Yeah, this is literally what happened. It was live on television. Like, you can look this up. They literally walk him in there. And it's like, okay, well, this guy is being tangibly supported. And I think what was his name? Annie Nagano gets attacked by the people there. And they, instead of arresting the people that are assaulting him, they arrest him. And I think that, when things like that are happening, it's time to send in some federal people to go look at this stuff. And give me a moment. I'll look up to find the crime.
If I can talk a little bit about the crime situation. So first and foremost, I'll set aside some of my ANCAP beliefs, right? Because it'll just derail everything.
Thank you.
Other than just to say these are two criminal organizations fighting each other. So I kind of don't give a fuck. Like Antifa are terrorists, and so are ICE. But setting that aside, when we talk about crime, one of the things that I have noticed is this, this increasing detachment from reality that the left has, where, 10 years ago, there was this kind of demand that the left would like subvert truth, or they'd tell half truths, right? They would just be like, oh, well, they'd tell like half of the story, and then they wouldn't really explain the story, or they'd give you a truth like, like for example, George Zimmerman shooting, right? Like they'd show you a picture of Trayvon Martin 4 years before the actual Trayvon Martin situation. And then they'd show a picture of George Zimmerman where he looked whiter and where he was fatter, and like try and make it look like, well, clearly it was just this poor little innocent boy with a pack of Skittles, and like George Zimmerman's this evil murderer, instead of showing like the updated 17-year-old or 16-year-old, I can't remember the exact age, but the updated older teenager that was like, that clearly did attack George Zimmerman, or the fact that George Zimmerman was Hispanic, right? That was the kind of lies that the media used to tell. It was like half truths or subversion of truth. And more, I think we just see just straight up lying. And so I think we're kind of in a war now where increasingly we're not going to be able to trust municipalities' crime data at all. Like the crime data is like over and over again, I'm seeing like large swaths of minorities just being categorized as white, so that the crime data shows that white people are actually committing more crime. And like, I think there was reports of like, was it like Baltimore, where there was more people in the morgue that died from murder than murders reported. And like, it's just like, okay, like clearly something like my ability to deal with this data is based upon my trust that municipalities are doing their best to report the most accurate data. And as we get more tribal, and I don't even think it's necessarily like this is what leftism does. I think it's more of just a tribalistic political thing, where I'm just less and less likely to trust that data as it is reported anyways. But the second thing I want to say about crime and like the enforcement is like, Gibbs is probably right. Like if you send in the fucking National Guard, you're going to get less crime. And to say otherwise would be kind of silly.
But then
But
when
it's
you take
kind
the
of
National Guard out, doesn't the crime just come back?
Well, so here's what I would say is that it's kind of the same logic that communists use, right? Like in Mexico or another place or in Cuba, right? Where what they'll do is they'll spend a whole bunch of government money building hospitals and building schools. And then for like 4 or 5 years, they'll be like, look, the literacy rates went up. Look, the deaths went down. Look, healthcare is better. It's like, yeah, if you steal a bunch of money from the economy and build schools, literacy rates go up, obviously. But you'll see that they always keep that like 4 or 5 year window when they're proving how communism or socialism works, and they don't zoom out. And it's like, but what other things happen when you start taxing people to an extreme degree or taking a bunch of money out of the economy? And what ends up happening is billionaires and millionaires flee your country. So you have less of a tax base. You have less productive money in the economy.
I don't want to, please. I don't want to.
You don't want to listen to me, right?
Can I make one more?
Yeah,
I'm just saying it's a socialist argument. It's like obviously this reduces crime, but what are the unintended consequences of the cost of bringing in federal troops, both financially, morally, like psychologically, etc.?
To talk about one.
That's literally what I'm talking about. You're just mad that I'm proving socialism is bad?
I don't care. I already know your stance on socialism. I don't give a fuck, right? I just want to like focus on the thing before we spiral. Right. So yes.
I'm not spiraling. I'm giving a counter argument.
That there's some sort of insurrection going on in your
welcome
city,
back,
right?
folks. Inside this box are the most expensive.
On the other, you have troops coming in, armed individuals in the streets patrolling around, right? Yeah, that scares people. So yeah,
one of the unintended consequences.
Well, I mean, hold on. So I have a friend of mine who was just in Washington D.C. and I'm going to read you what he wrote about it. He says, I am not a fan, and capitalize not, of having the military on our city streets. But I've been coming to D.C. several times a year for more than a decade. And for this trip, it is a completely different city. Union Station doesn't reek of piss, vomit, and weed smoke. Even the floors were clean. Police,
what the fuck?
Not military, were patrolling both the metro stations as well as the trains. People walked freely without being harassed or looking harried or worried. Even single young women and families with kids. The National Guardsmen that I saw were restrained and professional, even though they like this duty slot even less than those who have to watch it happen. There are still homeless here and still plenty of protesters and tents. They didn't just wipe the streets clean, but there no more blatant drug deals in the open, no more aggressive street people, and no more overdoses on the sidewalk in front of me, which all were regular occurrences on previous trips. And yes, I know Mussolini also made the trains run on time, which is why I have very much.
I was waiting.
I have very much
all the time.
Yeah, hold on. Before you even do that, like I've been at Union Station plenty of times. I've gone through Union Station. I've never seen anything like that. Yeah, there occasionally you'll see homeless individuals like you do in any fucking train station, any transportation system.
Not
anywhere.
in DC. The trains are
not
running
in
on
DC
time.
for that
one.
I was literally going to ask you. So is he saying the trains run on time? Like, yeah. That's hilarious.
So, So this idea that DC was just some drug infested crime war zone here is nonsense. I've been going to DC for
the president's neighborhood was just
I've been going to DC for I've been going through those same areas for years as well, right? Well, actually, I don't know where he's gone. To be fair, right? I don't know exactly what areas he's been. But specifically, he brought up Union Station, so that's what I'm referring to, right? Yeah, I've always been impressed by Union Station. I've gone to plenty of transportation hubs, right? And Union Station is one of the best ones. Like, what is he talking about?
I guess when I was there, they had an off day because when I was there, this has been like 4 or 5 years ago, but it did in fact smell like piss and vomit. So.
I don't care. But so, yeah, like I don't know, man. Like
I hear this about cities all the time, but like I went to New York like a month ago, and I went to Philadelphia before that while they were having the protest during the 4th of July and stuff like that, and it wasn't that bad. Obviously, there are going to be bad neighborhoods that are just in general, but like the downtown areas are never as fucking piss ridden and like homeless laden. There isn't shit all over the streets, like. I use the subway when I'm in New York, Chicago, when I've like been out. Like it's fine.
I think it's a city thing.
Sometimes the subways do smell like piss. Like that happens.
Yeah, but like that's
it depends what time of day you go.
New Orleans smells like
right.
piss.
And I'm going to be honest.
Sometimes they burn women alive on them, and the cops just turn the other eye because it's not their problem. You know?
Yeah, I was.
Well, hey, and they're not. If they don't prosecute that doesn't count as a crime.
I was in New York last year, and there was literally a guy pissing through a fence as I walked by. It was the craziest thing. I thought it was hilarious.
I mean, if you're going to piss somewhere, piss on the other side of the fence. You know what I mean? Don't piss on where you're, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so Prime, what is what's your position? Like, do you think that this is not going to like have any kind of substantive effect on crime?
Well, no, really. That's not my argument in the first place, right? Of course it's going to have. I said, sorry, no, I'm not attacking you, to be clear, right? But like I already said, I'm not sure if you might have missed it, right? I said specifically, yes, sending in armed men, right, gangs of armed men into an area is going to scare people so that one, they don't go outside in the first place, and two, that's going to decrease crime. Like, but that's not the point. I'm saying, like, the thing that I'm trying to bring up, the thing I'm trying to examine is if they should be in the first place. Not whether he legally has the ability to do so, right? In terms of DC, definitely has the ability to do so, right? And in terms of other cities, well, that's being highly contested, and so
he still likely does. He still likely does. And so, I mean, I think there's a strong argument legally, and it. But has had very strong effects in DC.
I was going to say before you finish that, like I'm not contesting the legal ability for a president has such broad powers, right? That it's likely you can go more in detail on this when you go. Likely that he has the ability to do that. I'm saying, should he be doing this? Like, he's doing this off the idea that like Portland is almost an open insurrection. I've heard, and I didn't look into this, right? But like that was late breaking news, and I haven't looked into the article. That Trump is considering using like literally the Insurrection Act, right? He was blocked by the judge by bringing in the
insurrection
Guard,
can
right?
be anything now, right?
Insurrection can
Colorado
be anything.
can give like 6 definitions.
So
we can find a way for January 6th to be one. It's like, you know.
Sorry. If you say that January 6th is, at the same time, though, if people attacking the Capitol is definitely not an insurrection, right? If we're going to say that, then what's happening in Portland certainly fucking isn't. And so
it's
like,
almost
it
like
seems
when
like
you give the government
like,
power, the other party uses it against you.
Agreed. Dude, I understand. Yes, we understand. I got it, right? But like when
heaven forbid I make good arguments.
Oh my God, Fred! I just like don't want to go down the route, please. We understand what your position on this is.
You want to make a moral argument, but you don't want me to argue for my moral philosophy. Got it.
Damn, Prime.
Scott, I think the problem with your argument is that there's no resolve. Like we can agree, but then there's no resolve.
Let him finish it, and then I'm gonna respond.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. Fuck, where was I?
If January 6th wasn't an insurrection, then Portland surely isn't an insurrection.
Yeah. If January 6th, I'm not exactly sure where I was going to go with this now. But if January 6th wasn't an insurrection, so The it seems like, right? It seems like that Trump is trying to create the actual emergency, right? What happens when like the National Guard, right, goes to a city, stands around, doesn't do a fucking thing, maybe picks up trash, which nice to beautify cities. Okay, that's great, right? Spending millions of dollars to do that, sure, why not? We'll stand around picking trash like they did in DC, right? They're not doing anything. However,
factory beautification.
Somehow, some way, right? An altercation happens, and one of them gets shot. Right? What happens then? Right? Like a National Guardsman, right, gets shot. Oh well, look at this look at the crime, right? Like they're fighting American troops, right?
Well, I
gotta send in more. Maybe we need tanks. Who knows? Like
that already happened. ICE agents were attacked. Chrissy Noem went to I think it was Fox News to talk about how ICE agents were attacked by like a group of 8 people that rolled up on their vehicles, and then in the altercation, ICE agents had to shoot one of them.
They got reverse ICE.
You're right.
They shot. So I mean, their presence,
woman,
their presence is there, and then the Antifa terrorists, right, attack the ICE terrorists, and then that. I'm with you. I think it probably.
I agree.
I think I almost feel like they're doing exactly like you're doing. They're baiting an ICE agent to get shot. Right, like because you just pump the city full of, a city full of a bunch of Antifa terrorists, right? They're all pieces of shit. Those people on the streets, they're not like they want violence where they feel like they can get it, and so there's a lot more opportunities for it. I do feel like they're not going as hard as Trump said he would go, just waiting for an ICE agent to get shot, so then they can really go hard because then they have the moral justification.
ICE and the other part I was going to bring in was the other federal troops as well. ICE specifically. I was trying to like divide the two, but I mean, in the end, it's the same, right? Like in terms
federal
of
inciting,
agents, and then in terms of inciting the populace, and then being an excuse for the government to ratchet up violence, right? They work the same. So I guess there's no point making that divide. I'm sorry, Lactoid. You want to say something?
Okay, so a couple points here. Whether somebody, when you say could, I think ultimately this still is related to should, right? Obviously, I think we all agree he should not do things that are illegal. That'd be not a good thing to do. Mm-hmm. I think the law probably on, like as you said, definitely in DC. It seems like the authorization for the National Guard in Chicago and Portland and there's a couple other cities is on the basis of defending the federal facilities, the ICE facilities, which you get to do. And I'm torn on this, right? Because there's part of me is like, you see a crime decrease in Washington, D.C. Like crime is down by half as compared to last year. Because what extent this had to do with that, we don't fully know. And then we also have the Democrats, when they were going after Trump, defined January 6th as an insurrection. And a lot of the definitions that we got was a very broad definition of insurrection that would fit this. Okay. But I rejected insurrection then. And I would agree, I think this is the logical entailment of why you point out stupidity when you see it, because this is not an insurrection. I'm sorry. It's not. And I don't think that it's like, I don't, even though legally he probably is the basis, I don't like the way that insurrection has been twisted legally over time. And I don't think it's actually as the law is or was intended to be. So, I mean, yeah, kind of shitty. The idea of like more feds in the states, not a good thing.
Legally,
but if the end result of what's up?
Legally, would you say it's closer to sedition?
I wouldn't even say it. To me, it's closer to a riot.
No, but I mean the forces behind it, right? The rhetoric, the reasoning, what's going on, what's driving the riots. Would it be closer to sedition?
I don't.
I have a question for you.
I don't think so.
I
don't think so.
Okay, I'm just curious.
I hear you. I don't think so. I think this is what happens when you adopt such a broad definition of the word insurrection when you're trying to go after the guy you want to go after. And now this, I think, inadvertently gives Trump a very powerful argument, which is, I have a court ruling, and you guys said insurrection means this, and they are doing insurrection under this definition, inarguably. And the Insurrection Act allows me to send in National Guard when there's an insurrection, doesn't it? Well, yes. Okay, so now I get to do it. Yes, now he gets to do it.
I'm curious though, right? Like, what is the culpability? I guess morally, in one sense, but more so legally, for like you see these protests, and it's kind of pathetic of the Trump administration and their inability to govern, because they're just so bad at it. That they haven't been able to figure out in any way, shape, or form where all this money is coming from. Because it's very obvious that there's a lot of professional protesters. It's very obvious that they have the similar signs that are all laminated in the same places. So, like, what is the culpability of NGOs, especially ones that may be getting funneled government money? Because we know most NGOs are getting funneled government money at some point.
Oh, if it's going to a now designated terrorist organization?
Right, if it's going to, and if it's specifically funding and supporting riots or blocking of federal forces that has been designated a terrorist organization, like if they can find which NGOs and individuals, because I'm sure there's Democrat donors that have donated to them, but who's running them are usually like no-name people with like 20,000 followers on Twitter, et cetera. But like, how's that work when you're directly funding or knowingly funding these organizations by laminating their signs, paying them to be there, etc.?
Well, I mean, it was very recently Antifa was designated a terrorist organization, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know exactly how that's going to play out.
Yeah.
Which you disagree with?
I don't know. I mean, they definitely seem to operate like a terrorist organization.
Okay, so you're for branding domestic terrorism, like groups as domestic terrorists?
That's a good question. Because then the logical follow-up is going to be, well, then obviously the Klan is terrorist too, and we have a Supreme Court case in Skokie that defended their right to march.
The Biden administration in 2021 put out a memo saying that anarcho-capitalists were a threat to democracy, and
that is very different than designating you as a terrorist.
Right, yeah. But I'm saying if we had this habit of presidents, because every power that one president uses, the other president's going to use, the next incoming president uses against you, right? Like, I think the Biden administration knew that they couldn't go quite that far, but there was definitely like, these are people you need to be on a watch out, and we were paired up with Bugalo Boys and all these other groups, and it's like how the fuck are ANCAPs like this threat? It's like, oh no, we want to seize government power to get rid of power being abused against people. It's like, oh, we're so violent. Is that because we're anti-violence, right? So I mean, like, yeah, ought there be a strict rationale as to what gets designated a terrorist organization? So yeah, and how do we go through that?
To answer the original question, now that they are, I don't know what steps the administration is going to take when it comes to people who fund them, because there are a lot of restrictions on funding terrorist organizations. I was okay with designating the cartels a terrorist organization, but and initially the knee-jerk reaction is like, fuck Antifa, right? Because they are violent, thugs that attack people in the streets and like are entirely aimed, in my opinion, on shutting down expression using violence, which is like the classical definition of terrorism. But right, there's a big but there. Designating domestic organizations as a terrorist organization to me could be and might be simply being used or could be used as a circumvention of the First Amendment protections of those organizations, right? So like Scott, let's say, Trump designated Antifa a terrorist. Let's say President Gavin Newsom comes in next time, God forbid.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. That's why I was asking.
And the Libertarian Party is now a terrorist organization. Let's just say, that would be like pretty terrifying.
Yeah, it would probably be something closer to like Oath Keepers. You know what I mean? They're a terrorist organization, despite the fact that the Second Amendment gives us a right to a well-regulated militia, right? Like the Second Amendment specifically says we're supposed to have militia organizations that are just as armed as the United States government military, right? Like there's no rationale that you can't have any of the weapons that the army has in a militia organization. But if, having political idea, and especially when you have something like Antifa, I think the real crux here is that they're decentralized, right? And so because they're decentralized, well, they're sort of decentralized. They get funding from NGOs, they get funding from leftist organizations and, political organizations, but there's no leader of Antifa, right? There's chapters that, get banned on social media and then they pop right back up, or people that are in an abandoned building somewhere. And so it becomes a moniker and an ideology. And then it's like, well, how do you designate an ideology or a moniker? Antifa.
So Scott, that's exactly where I want to go. And I haven't forgot what you get. I'm going to shoot to you, friend. My response was, well, like if you're talking about, saying the Oath Keepers or the Klan or what have you, right? Or the Libertarian Party, right? Like if you're saying that those along the domestic terrorists, well, then that's at least an organization with membership, right? That you can go after. Or what was that other one that got banned in Canada by Enrique Tarrio, the something boys?
Proud Boys.
Proud Boys. Thank you. Proud Boys. Yeah, but yeah, they were.
And in America when we jailed them.
But I don't think they didn't get the designation. So I'm distinction. Yeah. So like they had they had members, right? It was a clearly defined group, like you said, Scott, right? Like Antifa is literally, it's just an ideology, right? Like
like Ghost of Tsushima just came out. The voice actress has a post being like, "I'm Antifa and so is my wife," right? It's part of the big controversy with people with not wanting to support or vice versa.
Fair enough.
Ghost of Tsushima, right?
I haven't heard of that, but okay. But I believe you. I'm not saying you're lying. So I hear you, right? This is a diffuse organization. So then, like, because there is no membership, because there is no Antifa Central or anything like that and nonsense, right? Well, then who is, like, according to the government, who is Antifa? Right, like that could be anyone, right? So, like, I'm anti-Zionist, right? Like, and I'm very proudly so, right? Won't stop saying it. But like, is that anti-fascist? I mean, I one thing I specifically said, and I know you guys disagree with me, of course, that Zionism is fascism, and so that means I'm anti-Zionism. I mean, I'm anti-fascist, right? That's Antifa. There we go, right? We have an Antifa member.
So I mean, like you see this meme often with Antifa, right? Like, which is like I recently saw some streamer and they were like doing the meme, right? Where they were like, "I'm Antifa," right? And it's like, "Oh, so you're saying you're pro-fascist?" Like, of course I'm anti-fascist, right? And it's like, okay, tell the dude to say white lives matter and watch him fucking crumble, right? Like he understands that the term Antifa is referring to something other than the moniker just being anti-fascist.
Yeah.
The same way that people understand BLM or Black Lives Matter is not necessarily just saying that the lives of Black people matter, but that it's support for a neo-Marxist organization and critical race theory and things like that are antithetical to like conservative or libertarian thought. What I would say is, and I know you don't want me to get too ANCAP with it, but I do have to answer the question, is that when you have, like, what matters is two things, right? When it comes to crime and how you can be punished for crime. And the first thing is actions. And the other thing is what it is that you communicate. And so the first thing, actions, should be, we should prosecute people that actively engage in terrorist activities. Obviously, I think most people would agree with that. And then we should prosecute people that knowingly materially support those activities, right? So printing placards, maybe not so much, right? But if you drop a pallet of bricks off the night before a protest, well, it's kind of fucking obvious when you're buying that you're trying to support terrorist activity and violence by dropping off weapons in the location that the protest is supposed to occur at another time, right? So that's one thing. That's actions. The other thing is words. And what I would say is if you say I am Antifa or you say I am a communist, what you have communicated is that you believe might makes right. You believe that anyone that has the power can use that power against you, and therefore we can do whatever the fuck we want to you until you recant that position. You don't get to simultaneously say, I believe in human rights, but also I believe in supporting terrorist organizations.
Okay, so I'm going to disagree with you there, but I didn't want to make a whole thing on this. My problem is, and then I'm going to let my friend Gibbs go, is that I think specifically, like I have a problem with the whole narco-terrorism thing, right? I think what's the conversation about Tren de Aragua and then other like South American gangs is like crazy, right? I have my own problems with that. But specifically with Antifa, because it's just a diffuse ideology. Right?
Can I meet you halfway?
Well, let me make the point. Yeah. So, like, because it's just a diffuse ideology, we're giving the government, specifically Trump, a blank check to use violence against anyone he designates an enemy. That's
here's my olive branch to you, right? I think Tren de Agua is obviously a terrorist organization. I think Antifa is obviously a decentralized terrorist organization. I also believe that, especially after 9/11. That the concept of designating an organization terrorist organization gives the state an expansionary power that was certainly not, something that the founding fathers intended, and also not something that is really meant to be used in that way, and is utilizing a loophole to potentially use resources or take actions that otherwise wouldn't be allowed against American citizens. And so, like, I do take issue with the designation of these groups as terrorist organizations to some extent because of the expansionary power that Congress over time has given blank checks to the executive once it becomes a terrorist organization. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I feel like almost like we're trying to say organizations that are clearly terrorist aren't terrorist, because once we say that, that's an admission of a certain power of the executive to use that the executive maybe shouldn't have that power to begin with.
And like I would, again, last thing again, because I keep saying it, I'm going to go to my friend Gibbs. I agree with pretty much most of what you just said. But what I'm also not saying is that we shouldn't be using police power against individuals who've done actual crimes, right? So if you do an actual crime, so even if we don't, designate them as terrorists, right? Whichever one of these groups you prefer, that doesn't mean that the police power, the federal power, whatever law enforcement agency you want to throw at them, right, can't actually do their jobs, right? It's a fallacy to think that they haven't been doing it any which way, right?
That's not true, though. There is another problem here. Like, on the flip side, to give the devil his due, which is designating them a terrorist organization allows the federal government to be able to take care of this in jurisdictions where they're not fucking taking care of it, where local prosecutors and things can take, vandalism or, like without federal troops there, assaulting local cops or right. But there's all of these actions that Antifa does where they get a slap on the wrist. And then they
sorry,
get
Brad.
Out
unfortunately,
Portland is soft on fucking Antifa. But the moment it's a terrorist organization,
so
then all of a sudden federal government, federal judges, federal crimes can. It happens all the time in Portland.
Unfortunately,
specifically Portland.
It's weird.
I'm not saying about America. I'm saying Portland, where Antifa is a serious problem, and soft on crime DAs that are soft on Antifa is a problem, and has been for years.
Could you give me a source on the assaulting cops in Portland? I would love to see it. But go ahead, Gibbs. I'm sorry, I've been stepping my friend.
Yeah, it's fine. This is going to go back a little bit in the combo, right? And I think that I've just dropped all my notes that I had up. Okay, yeah. So this is going to go back a little bit in the convo, right? I'm sitting here and I'm going to give you an example of what we were talking about, how like non-enforcement can hold on a second.
Something's happening with your
bye,
mic
Yeah,
connection.
I got it. Yeah, I got it.
Oh,
That's
okay.
right. It was the quote.
So 1 second. Ali says he's got to go.
Yeah, I'm a tap. I feel like shit, guys. Sorry, I think I'm.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, thank you, thank you. Have a wonderful night, guys. Look forward to seeing you guys again. Be well.
Yep.
See you, buddy.
Yeah, so sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, so I'm going to give you an example here in Texas. I think is a good example of what I'm talking about with some of these other states using the laws to not enforcing things to kind of change data in their favor, right? So in Texas, two things have happened, right? Two big things, one in 2019 and one in 2021, right? In 2019, we had the Texas legalized hemp production, right, in Texas. And when they did that, it allowed for, we've seen a dramatic increase in THC, A, B, C, all these other ones go up, right? Now we've seen a massive increase in sales of those products all over the state. I think it's a several billion-dollar industry. They actually were able to lobby against alcohol, tobacco when they tried to lobby back against them recently for some stuff. And so what I'm seeing here, right, is after the 2019 thing, and then there's another thing that happened in 2021 that I'll get to in a second. But after 2019, we see a mass reduction. We see a drop in drug-related prosecutions by half. And the reason for this is twofold. One is the availability of it and the softening of in a lot of the cities. They had a lot of cities here in Texas started doing at the local level, not punishing for have up to like 2 ounces. Some have more, some have less for possession of marijuana or in their possession, because it was hard to trace at the time. They can't tell indistinguishable from normal marijuana and THCA or THCC, right? They're indistinguishable unless you send it to a lab. And so they decided it was not worth it financially to keep prosecuting with these two things. So in 2021, they had a failed attempt at more full legalization, which failed at the state level. However, backed by the groundswell of support overall, many of the major cities have implemented basically furthermore implemented, they're not prosecuting for like 2 ounces or less overall. And so we're about to see a change in 5 days. A new law goes into effect basically where they're saying, oh well, we could prosecute people under 21 for having this, so you have to provide an ID now. So we'll see if the numbers go up. But after this, they did this thing in 2019, we see a dramatic drop, drug possession drop of every city in Texas except for San Antonio, and I'll get to why that's an exception in a second. But the arrest rate by drug possession fell by 31.7%. Sales and manufacturing arrests went down by 31.2%. And so it's like by not prosecuting these crimes, even though they are technically still legal, you're having a drop of 32% in two different categories in all these areas, right? So you're seeing across the board, crime is way down. It's because of reclassification at a local level where they're not going to be prosecuting these crimes and they're no longer reporting them to the federal level. The reason why San Antonio is an exception is because San Antonio is the cocaine hub in Texas after Corpus Christi. And so it's the cocaine hub, and there are a lot of distribution things. They're having major issues with cocaine here, and where they're arresting people left and right, which seems to have taken up for a lot of the weed market, since we're now at record high cocaine production and what's it called, importation in the United States since the 80s. And so like I said, there's the one exception statewide with that, and it seems to reflect a trend that's at the national level where federal drug possession charges are not being prosecuted. If you're now reclassifying things that are technically crimes and saying, okay, we're just not going to punish them, or we're going to say they're a misdemeanor and you just pay a fine, obviously that's going to skew statistics. Now, in this case, I am in favor of drug legalization, right? However, you can apply this logic to almost any of the things that are done locally, right? So if I pass a law saying we're not going to prosecute for property crime under $1,000, and it's just a fine, no longer a federal thing, then obviously incarceration rates, which we can look and see, like California, for example, their incarcerations have gone down, prosecution's gone down, and that means that crime is not really actually down.
Well, sure, hold on. Okay, so if you're talking about in that sense for those types of crimes, well, then I can agree with you, right? I think we've seen a movement across many states, right? And in this case, I'll agree with you, blue states, right, where they've been like pulling back on like your drug enforcement laws, right? Like, there's a movement. Like,
property crime is the one I want to talk about right there, real quick though, before you go on. Is just if I like it also incentivizes people not to report the crime, right? So if I get robbed and they steal $500 worth of stuff from my store, why am I even going to call the cops? Because it's going to waste my money. It's going to waste time for me to do it. I'm going to have time out of my day. It's going to cause an investigation to slow my business down. And you're just not going to call and report the crime because the cops aren't going to prosecute it anyway because it's less than $1,000. That's going to lower reporting. You're also going to have no crime because even if they do report it, they're going to go in here and say, oh, we're not prosecuting. So then it's not going to get reported. No one's going to get incarcerated over it. Then it's not going to be reported. So when you have this game where like, yeah, crime is down. Well, is it really down? Or is it we're just not enforcing these laws anymore and people are getting away with more? And my argument is that it seems like they're not enforcing it. So the crime's actually still up. It's just the people are suffering in regards to property crime and just not being able to do anything.
So my response to you is, well, one, again, when we're talking about like, I don't know how to the best way to classify the crime. The other crimes you were discussing, not the property crimes, but like,
sure.
I'm sure there's
I'll just use that as an example.
Yeah. No, I understand, right? I would agree that there has been some reclassification there, right? So then that's the point that you were trying to prove, and so I'm going to give you that because, like, if you're saying there's reclassification, you just give an example of that. Well, then there you go, right? However, specifically what I was talking about was violent crime. Violent crime has been decreasing. Right. There hasn't, as far as I know, right, been some sort of mass change in how we handle violent crime. I mean, now there is, like, especially not with since like the Trump administration has started. As far as I know, there hasn't been any specific change. Like we were seeing a decrease, right? Or at least, sorry, not. I'll even go a little bit farther. Like since 2024, right? That there's some sort of large shift, right, to make the crimes any better. So like for violent crime specifically, we've seen year-over-year decreases. In fact, we've seen multiple years. There's been a downward trend in violent crimes. Period. So
since COVID,
like,
yeah. It was there was a spike in COVID.
There was a spike in COVID.
Then, of course, but that also
it was also
coincided with
BLM.
That also coincided with defunding the police, which of course reduces the number of reports. And that was the other thing that I was trying to explain, that it's so much more complicated, right? But I put in the group chat, right? Just one example, just kind of like a thought experiment, right? Which is this video that Reason TV did on this property owner in Seattle, right? Where he was had to shut down his store, wasn't profitable or whatever, right? And then he built a fence to keep the homeless out. And then Seattle fined him because homeless were there, hundreds of dollars a day, even as they investigated it. And so, and because he tried to get rid of the homeless, there's nothing he can do about it. And then so it's like, if you report problems and homelessness and things like that, obviously this isn't a violent crime, but just reporting squatters can mean that the city of Seattle can charge you hundreds of dollars a day for the crime of you not taking care of the homeless, even though you're not allowed to physically remove the homeless. And then they can do an investigation on whether or not you've achieved fixing. And it's like, well, like when the more tyrannical, or I guess anarcho-tyrannical, right, where the state is not dealing with crime, the more anarcho-tyrannical a state or a city or a municipality becomes, the less reporting of crime you're going to get, because property owners themselves can actually be the ones that get in trouble for alerting the state of property crimes. And so it almost becomes better for the property owner to not tell them that they have a bunch of squatters or vandalism, because telling the state that they have squatters and vandalism could cost them tens of thousands of dollars in fees and problems.
I hear you, friend. And I also critical of squatters' rights. I've heard the stories, I've heard the horror stories about that, right? Like I understand this it's
not a squatters' rights issue. This is an issue. This is an issue of, and you see it in a couple of places. You see it in California. You see it in like super, I guess probably liberal, not leftist, because there's no real leftist cities, but super liberal cities, like places where you have a lot of NIMBY and stuff.
One day.
Yeah, maybe. Well, New York might be that, and then it will no longer be the financial capital of the world. Yay.
Right.
But anyways, you see this consistently where property owners are punished for crimes because the state is like, we're going to crack down on vandalism. And the way that they'll crack down on vandalism is by punishing property owners for their property being vandalized. This is common in California. It's common in Seattle. It's common in places like that. And so I just wonder, like, well, what does that do for the general? I understand you were making a distinction about violent crime, but if the culture, kind of broken windows theory, right? Like Robert Merton, Robert Fuller, anyways, right? Like what does it do for the state when you have a growing increase of permissible shoplifting and a growing increase of permissible vandalism and things of that nature, and you have people that are growingly knowing that reporting this can become abusive to them? You not only create a culture of crime, but you also create a culture of non-reporting of crime.
So I hear you. I hear that. One, I think that the way some jurisdictions have been handling crimes, and where some people have been like let out who shouldn't have been let out.
Like that guy in North Carolina who was talking about his daughter, where that guy had 23 felonies and 39 arrests in 10 years, and then he brutally murdered his daughter.
I'm unaware of that one. I
spent less than 2 years in jail for 23 felonies.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty bad, right? And that might be
probably an outlier, but still.
You don't believe in second chances, Scott?
I don't believe in 39 chances. You know what I mean?
What's one more? What's one more?
You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
No. I know. I mean, I agree. Like, and trust me, I wish I knew exactly the answer to handle all this, but I don't. But yeah, so anyway, the point
libertarianism, it's always the answer.
Okay. Well, actually, no. I'll say, like, I've been convinced in various ways. Like, I've taken on some libertarian ideas, right? I think you've seen that. Like, if someone presents me with a good idea, I hope at least you can understand that. Like, I take it, I am taken, and it can become my own, right? So I don't have. I'm not completely ideologically like aligned or against or something. Anyway, I'm sorry. So I have disagreements about how all that is happening, right? I think there's plenty of points where we can come together, where we can find points of agreement between you and I. However, specifically, right, the point of this conversation, where it started, right, was talking about Donald Trump and him sending troops into American cities. And as far as I know, and maybe I missed it, and I do apologize if I did, right?
I'm just riffing off of the topics as they come up because I don't want to go full ANCAP. That's literally all I'm doing.
I know. But like, but this is not just to you. This is not just to you. This is also to Gibbs, right? The point that I've been trying to get out is that I might have missed it, but it seems like the point that he was pushing forward was that there are violent crimes in this city, right? They are war zones. He specifically has called Portland war-ravaged. War-ravaged Portland. Like, what the fuck, right? Like,
blacks were calling Chicago Chirac for years, and nobody had a problem with it. But now that a conservative says that it's an issue,
there you go. Yeah. So he's specifically saying it's war-ravaged.
Okay, so you agree.
So that was a serious point about the Chirac.
No, it's a serious point about the hypocrisy of being like, how can you say it's war ravaged, but like nobody had any issue when people were calling Chicago Chirac.
Okay, hold on. Let's put Chicago aside. We can tackle Chicago in a second, right? Had they were calling Portland Port North Korea. Port DPRK.
I don't know.
Sorry. I'm sorry. But we're specifically talking about Portland. He's talking about Portland being war ravaged, right? Or Seattle as well. It's war ravaged. This is not the case. This is a fantasy, right? He was talking about violent crime. He wasn't talking about all the things that.
So when people called Chirac, that was a fantasy that you were against?
Second, friend. Please. It's just, I had to take this one at a time, right? I'm happy to talk about Chicago, but 1 second, please.
You mean Chirac?
So specifically,
I'm not distracting by saying Chicago. I'm pointing out hypocrisy in your current argument.
I'm not trying. Okay, guy. I don't know how that is hypocrisy here, right? I don't know how that works, right? When we're talking about people with state power, it'd be one thing, right? Yes, if the Democrats had been saying, well, Houston or not Houston, Dallas is conservative city. I forget which one. Yeah,
Dallas is.
Right?
Austin is the liberal one in Texas. Dallas is the one. Dallas is basically the only conservative city in America, really, and it's pretty dope.
We'll go to my friend.
There's not too many cities like metropolitan.
We'll go to my friend Doobie afterwards. Austin, okay, only sane spot in Texas, great, right? But if Dallas was like we're saying that Dallas is a war zone, right? Obama saying it's a war zone, something's got to be done, right? And he's starting to use state power against it. Yeah, then I'd have a problem with that, right? If there was some sort of meme within, liberal or culturally woke circles, or whatever the fuck, right? And then they use that as a justification for state power against a Dallas that's perfectly fine, right? For as far as Dallas is concerned, right? Then yes, I'd have a problem with that. You're saying rappers were calling it Chirac and other people, I'm sure as well. Maybe you were being reductionist, but people calling it Chirac. They weren't calling in federal troops. They weren't calling in federal troops.
That's a perfectly fine distinction, right? But to say that someone you weren't attacking Donald Trump using that as rhetoric to be able to deploy the troops. You were critiquing Admiral Gibbs in saying that it was war ravaged, as if this was a ridiculous thing. And I was simply pointing out that the culture was perfectly fine with calling Chicago Chirac, that's not actually the issue here. I totally agree with you that rhetoric supporting a decree that you find to be either unconstitutional or at the very least morally unconscionable to deploy troops in cities for law enforcement mechanisms is, a bridge too far. I as a libertarian, of course I can agree with that interpretation. I would say though that people certainly use that rhetoric to support socialism and the welfare state and policies in Chicago, which are equally, if not more violent than Donald Trump deploying the National Guard to stop crime.
Okay, so before I'm going to go to my friend Doobie. I got a $5 super chat from Fairy Queen. Thank you, Fairy Queen, for actually sending that super chat. It's actually much appreciated. I'm testing a new software where I can see all of my chats at the same time, because I was before it was like
that's right? A pisser because
someone did a $2 super chat to tell you the People's Republic of Portland might be what you were looking for.
Portland. Okay, shout out to that person.
He gets a super chat.
What a pisser! That just for fun, you all get a chaos. I mean, in Texas, we've called Austin the People's Republic of Austin for like 40 years, I think, before even I know that. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know.
Very quick. So let me just read Fairy Queen's super chat. We'll react to that, and then we'll go to our friend Doobie. $5 from Fairy Queen. I can also put it up on screen. That's right. I can do that here. Let me do that for everyone. We, the people of the United States, deserve welfare and a sexy California president. No, I would be a terrorist for Newsom. Would you? Fuck no. Fuck Gavin Newsom.
Talk about someone else, because I think that name is spelled wrong. So some random.
It is, but like I wasn't going to say that.
All you need to know about why Gavin Newsom was probably going to be a bad president is that he's like this close to getting endorsed by Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes loves Gavin Newsom.
Oh my God.
Which is bizarre, by the way.
No, it's not. They're both not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. They're both national socialists.
Because he's a white man with a fucking white family. They're both socialists.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why you're surprised.
Fuentes would be a terrorist for Newsom.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think a really big difference is their stance on immigration. I think that's like probably a very.
Right? I mean, listen, I'm sure.
Yeah, but aura farming and having a white family beats out, immigration policy for a lot of people.
And this is all because JD Vance's wife is Indian. I don't see why the Indians get so much hate. I'm fine with the Indians. They make good food.
They're good people. They're just rude to customer service, and sometimes they smell. That's it. That's why they get so much hate.
Not endorsed by the Prime Kind channel. All right.
That's where the hate comes from.
Not me.
It's genuinely where it comes from. It's normies. Normies have that opinion. That's the problem.
So I appreciate the horny energy from UFQ, right? If there was a hottie representative. What's her face from Texas? Who I like, the representative. A friend, Scott likes her too because she's black. Jasmine Crockett. Oh.
Physically speaking, like not morally.
No.
I
guess I know ideologically.
Jasmine Crockett is. What about she's fucking retarded? But
Paulina Luna, Scott, would you?
Bro, I cannot stand.
She's Republican, really, but she's like right leaning. but she's not.
Dude, she's just annoying. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like fucking e-girls in most places, much less in fucking political
I'm
power.
gonna look her up.
She operates like an e-girl.
Okay, hold on. We gotta
trying.
I think she's probably the most attractive. I think she's the most attractive woman politician that I've
probably.
Hold on,
but she doesn't do it for me personally.
We're gonna Google it. Paulina Luna. Paulina
Luna, or like Luna Paulina or something.
Luna. I don't see like Luna. Paulina.
It's definitely.
Oh, Anna Paulina Luna. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
look at the MAGA swimsuit that she wore.
That's what I'm saying.
Have to send me
fucking e-girl bullshit.
Swimsuit.
You can just literally look up like MAGA suit, and she did like a whole thing where she was in a Make America Great Again.
You already got it memorized, do you?
It's just intuitive Googling.
I appreciate your horny energy, Lack. I love to see it from you specifically.
This is why, if you want Republicans to win, the number one thing you can do right now is you need to get RFK to slap the shit out of JD Vance every time he puts something in his mouth that is going to make him gain weight or is unhealthy. Because if JD Vance can fucking get a hardcore jawline, like Democrats are fucked.
He doesn't have one.
Like, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Anyway, she's not as high as Jasmine Crockett, but
no, she's more attractive than Jasmine Crockett.
I would do some unspeakable things to that woman.
Sorry, we got our horny energy, and we're gonna blame FQ. We're gonna blame a woman for that, right? We were on topic previously. FQ sent us down this rabbit hole. Thank you, FQ, for the $5. Now, my friend Doobie has been waiting quite patiently. I would love to hear what he has to say.
So the Portland dismissing crimes thing, like riot-related crimes, like isn't that more like a Portland issue? Like, so if they're voting in a DA who is doing this, right? Couldn't they just vote him out? And in fact, I think they did vote that DA out, and they replaced him with a guy who's promised to go after these kind of criminals, right? So like that seems like something that could be handled at the state level. Seems like Portland's already doing that. So I don't really understand why we need the federal government to come in and put their hand in that. Now, what I'm curious about is, so I am like sympathetic to the idea that having the National Guard or somebody come in force to clean up the streets might be a good thing in some cases, right? And I'm thinking of like Skid Row here in California. The issue is that like it's like the streets are dirty for a reason. These homeless people are there for a reason. So like, what do you do with them? If you have thousands of people, tens of thousands of homeless people on the streets, if you're going to clean up the streets, where do they go? Do they just walk off to another area? Then you have another area that's fucked up. Like, you need to have a solution for that. If you're suggesting that they come in and push these people out. So, Latoy, what's your plan?
I mean, I'm not proposing like these sweeps of people. I'm talking about like in DC, for example, right? Like I think that if they see like crime happening, like that, this is the benefit of having police officers, right? They see a crime and then they come all over and they're like, no, you can't do that, and then they'll
but these guys
stop
probably aren't like trained to do that kind of like enforcement, are they? Or like policing.
But here's the thing: the other benefit of cops is that them simply being there is a deterrent, right? Because the calculation the criminals make, criminals tend to be almost by nature, very short-term planners, right? And so
it's all about whether or not they think they're going to get caught.
Getting caught is a much right. For like reducing crime or like protecting ICE agents, and I think there can be like situations in which that's reasonable, but that with criminal enforcement or with any kind of government service, I'm looking for risk or not, like basically cost versus benefit analysis. If we're paying to have federal troops occupy every square foot of land in the United States, this would not be a good use of money. If we have a city that like it explodes into crime, maybe that specific city might make sense to send more law enforcement.
So then shouldn't it just be advocating of what, I don't know what the actual statistics are, but like just by whatever top 10 or top 20 most violent crime cities, and then just target there. And is that what is that? Can you demonstrate that's what Trump is doing?
Well, the issue
maybe
is
he is. I don't know.
Well, Trump can't do that. Trump can't do that, right? Legally.
Well, that doesn't seem to stop him, or that doesn't even stop.
But it is. So there's one place that he can do that, and that's in D.C. That's a federal city. He's got a lot of power in D.C. But when we're talking about Chicago, when we're talking about Portland, the federal enforcement efforts need to be tied to some kind of federal purpose, and it's currently tied to ICE, right? So ICE is setting up in these areas, doing these raids, and they're getting protests, they're getting riots, they're getting attacked by people. This is happening, and then the response is, okay, well, we're going to defend these ICE agents by sending in the National Guard to defend them and to patrol the area and defend those people from the attacks. But without that federal purpose, generally speaking, you just can't order the feds to go do like general policing. And so like the top 10 cities, like if we could just order the feds to go and do policing, doing top 10 would make the most sense, just flat out, right? You take the top 10 and just like every year, whichever city has like the top 10 cities have the most crime, they get federal troops.
Yeah.
It's a sweepstakes, right? But Trump can't quite do that, right? He can do DC, which also happens to have one of the most crimes in the United States.
He can do it if like the governor invites him, like in Memphis.
If the governor does,
I think Memphis is
Chicago, Portland.
Well, isn't Memphis
LA?
Yeah, sure, but isn't Memphis like, for example? I think this will be a good test of this, right? Memphis is allowing them in, and I think they're the highest murder rate
Tennessee
in the United States. Right, and so they're sending them in.
It's up there.
I think Alabama's pretty high.
Yeah. So
Memphis is bad.
Grid mentioned this earlier. If we actually see a tangible, they like they'll come in and flood them with the surge, and that allows police to get them. It's kind of like, all right, this is gonna be a kind of funny example, but in the Dark Knight, we're back. My headset's on this last legs, I think. But I all remember the Dark Knight.
All that money, bad headset.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, I mean, it just started happening like today. So
just get a real mic.
We'll just order one tomorrow. Anyway, listen. So we go in here and we got like Memphis, right? He goes in there and they clean it up and they do kind of like the Dark Knight, where it's like, okay, we might not get the top
bridges.
guys. Well, yeah, maybe the bridges, but they go in there and they get the it's kind of like what Harvey did.
The FBI that likes to blow up
it's
bridges.
Like, hey, we go in there and we arrest all these people.
Specifically.
It's not necessarily that you're gonna get all the shot callers and shit, but if you get to like, I don't know, a year of clean streets or 8 months or whatever, and you get these people off or however long, then it's like, okay, we can focus on like getting other things. We can clean up the city. You can put like security and then withdraw, and you have long-term effects based off that initial surge kind of thing. And
I mean, I think sorry, I thought he was done.
Oh yeah, I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. My headset's fucking good.
Your mic is done, that's for sure.
Yeah, his mic is done.
I'm ordering a new one right now. Yeah,
he's literally on Amazon right now, hitting add to cart.
Yeah, I'm literally there.
So I think that the thing about Memphis is that the actual trouble area, like in a lot of cities, is actually really small. I want to say it's like 8 or 10 blocks.
It's always like that.
And so they're just basically going to contain that area. They're going to try and work with the people who don't commit crimes in that area to find the people that do commit crimes and take care of that. And I don't understand. I mean, I really nobody has yet to really explain why you want less resources for your local police if you're having a crime problem, which it seems like most of these bigger cities have. I still don't get it.
They're not having a crime problem. That's the thing. One, they're not having a crime problem. Crime is decreasing.
But it'll derail.
Crime is.
I know that you can, Scott.
Crime is lower, according to one study. Crime has been dropping to below pre-pandemic levels. This thing they're talking about is
isn't that just because they changed
the violent crimes continue to fall below
National Victimization Survey isn't
42 U.S. cities.
Yeah. Scott's
so
right.
Right, so
can you send me that, Scott? That could come in that come in handy pretty.
So I'll send you National Victimization Survey. Right.
Yeah.
So there's two ways that people that like are serious about like criminologists and people that study crime, right, or like structural functionalist sociologists that deal with crime, right, is they deal with reported crime statistics from like police bureaus, FBI, Bureau of Justice, Bureau of Justice and Statistics, et cetera. And then the other thing they look at is national victimization surveys, right? Because that is dealing with like if a crime occurs, especially violent crime, then there is a victim, right? And so a lot of times you might have underreported crime, or you might have, like police don't catch every crime, for example.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the only reason
crime gets reported. And
Right.
so National Victimization Survey looks at victims, and then you can extrapolate, obviously, crime based upon looking at victimization. And according to National Victimization Surveys, crime has not gone down to pre-COVID levels yet. It's still showing a drop in crime since like the BLM, George Floyd, COVID lockdown era,
Summer of
whichever
Love
thing you want to think is Summer of Love, all that stuff. It's still going down since then,
Sure.
but it's not still at those pandemic
Okay,
levels.
so we're having.
But hold on, let me-
National
let me-
Victimization
So one second.
We
We're
kinda
having a
table out.
downward trend in crime. So that's happening. And I know what
But
you're
we had
trying
a
to say,
spike
right?
in crime.
We had
and
a
then obviously
spike in
we're
crime,
having-
and now we're having a downward trend in crime. No,
But
I
we
hear
also
you,
have to
right? And
understand.
I'm not trying to like minimize what you're saying, right? But
Yeah,
but
we're
in
having
the
like a
end-
2 steps
Well, I mean,
forward,
I-
1 step back situation.
But
don't
I
know
think that you
we've
have to
gone
understand how the
2
crime
steps
is
back.
tabulated. I mean, the problem is that if you redefine something as not a crime, then it's no longer a crime, and by just the statistics
We're
are going to
talking
go
about
down.
violent crime, though. We're talking about
Sure,
violent-
he's
that's
looking
why
at
I
violent
brought that
crime.
up.
But again,
Trump is
hold
looking
on.
at violent crime. Yeah.
I understood that part. So
Sorry.
the problem is that if you change a category from an assault to just a mere battery, which it doesn't make the line, then it doesn't get counted. Or if it's not even if people just don't even bother to report it. All crime statistics are literally just a measure of what is reported or directly observed by law enforcement. We actually have no idea how much actual crime takes place in this country, because for a crime to make it into any of these statistics, it has to be reported to the police.
Right, but again, isn't this a local issue though? So if we send the National Guard into an area that has crime issues, and they bring down the crime rate, isn't this in some way shielding the local police force, local DA who's actually behind the surge in crime in the first place?
I
Now
mean,
you're gonna have an artificially reduced crime rate.
we
So
can
it
look
seems
at
like-
it that
seems like
way.
if there are
but I-
crime issues, that should just be left. How they deal with this should
Right,
be left to
so-
the local community.
So I think that a lot of departments are currently feeling overrun, or they just don't care and they need that backup. Now, whether or not that's true, I don't know, because I'm not in those departments. I can just simply say that it seems to have worked in Washington. It seems to be working other places. It looks like it'll work in Memphis. And again, nothing you guys have said have given me, except for Scott, have given me a reason to say why you don't want extra help for cops trying to control crime. It's literally like you're just saying, well, crime's okay, but it's really not okay. People are really fed up with the amount of crime. People are fed up with the amount of all of it, right?
Why wouldn't you have troops in all cities, in all of them?
I
There's
don't have a
crime-
problem with that. Do you
Yeah,
have a problem with
why
it?
shouldn't the
I mean,
military
it
just
is
have
an
an
allocation of
occupant force for the
resources
United
issue,
States?
but I mean, I don't have a problem with it.
Could
Would you?
I get Grid? Let me give an answer. So the first potential reason people could be against it is the politics. Republican president. These are Democrat areas. They don't like the idea of this president doing something to them, right?
Right.
Just
And I
on
can
partisan
understand
grounds.
that. That would be
The other thing here. The other thing here is I think there is like a rational basis here, and I think Doobie's actually got a pretty convincing point. There's a rational basis to say, look, yeah, maybe crime is going down, but like I would trade a higher crime rate for not feeling like an occupied citizen in my own city, for not having to like look out and see these soldiers walk around everywhere. Like I don't like that, and I don't want that there. Now you and I might feel differently about that, but I think that's because we're valuing crime as like really, really bad. And if you don't value crime so bad, if you're somebody I think everybody generally values crime as pretty bad. But if you're somebody who's like more concerned about federal troops in your city as opposed to crime, then maybe you can come around with like a different conclusion. And what Doobie's saying is, well, what about the people, like the local people who just they want the progressive DAs who let them get away with shit, and that's just like how they want to live life. And if you don't like it, you can move. I mean, that argument would appeal to Gibbs.
What you essentially have is people from
Punish
outside of
the
these
minority.
communities saying, "Hey, I don't like the way you're enforcing law within your community, so fuck you, I'm going to send the National Guard in there." Like that doesn't really make sense in our, I think.
Well, criminals don't have rights, right? So if
we're talking about the right of the community to elect people that are going to enforce the laws in the way that they want them enforced. Right? So if they vote for this DA who's going to dismiss a bunch of right-related cases, that's on them. They voted for the guy. That's what they wanted.
Right, but I mean, but that's the same thing as like saying 9 out of 10 people vote for gang rape. You know what I mean? Like, just because the 10th person, you know what I mean? Like when we're talking about crime, we're talking about rights. Criminals don't have rights. You cannot argue that the criminal has any right whatsoever. You can say they have a right to life if, let's say, they only stole, right? But well, alleged criminals in our current, you know, from a legal positivist position of like our current framework have, you know, right to a fair trial, et cetera, right? But if we're objectively speaking that someone is, let's say, a murderer, right? Objectively speaking, they have no right to life. Okay, you can do whatever the fuck you want to a
Okay, but if you're a cat burglar, you do have a right to life, right?
Right. If you're a cat burglar, you have a right to life.
That's your actual cat.
If
you throw most criminals have rights.
You cannot argue, right? You can't argue that you not be kidnapped or that you not be held and forced to pay restitution and retribution for the crimes that you've committed, right? A murderer has no right. You can do whatever the fuck you want to a murderer.
Right. So only a very specific. I mean, I disagree, but a very specific subset of criminals you're referring to.
And the cat burglar be
regardless,
definitely.
But no criminal has a right to avoid being taken into custody and forced to pay for their crimes, regardless of the crime that they committed. Now, I understand the argument.
We're not talking about the right of the criminal, though.
I understand the
We're
argument.
talking about the right of the DA and right of the community to
right.
Not
I do understand.
That way.
Right. I do understand the concept of the right of the community to not have, you know, things that they don't want in their community that they didn't vote for. But the problem is that the community's rights to house anarcho-tyranny in their community and punish those people that do want federal police or do want some type of law and order cannot outweigh it's the contradiction of democracy. You were saying that because even if the community 55%, right, want a bunch of soft on crime DAs and want people to shoplift and loot and, you know, do whatever without facing any real repercussions until they actually kill somebody, there's still that 45% of the community that is being terrorized by violent and property crime, and they have a right to have their communities protected by their own self-defense. One that the state has stolen from them, that then becomes incumbent upon both the local representatives as well as the federal government to enforce.
I understand, but why wouldn't this apply to every other law, right? So let's say a law passes with 45 to 55. Like if the federal government says, "Hey, that law is bad, and we disagree with this law that you guys have voted to put into place," why couldn't they just come in here and say, "Hey, you don't get to enforce this law because 45% of people here don't want this"? Like, well, it just seems like you're stepping over a line there.
Well, first of all, in reality, that does happen, right? We've seen that with weed legalization over and over and over again, where states have voted for legalization of weed, and then they've used interstate commerce and drug scheduling and all those laws to enforce, you know, if an area.
Do you think that's a good thing?
Especially in the beginning, right? No, I don't think that's a good thing. Because it's a nonviolent crime, because it's not an actual crime, right? The problem, I do agree that there is a problem where crime becomes a voted democratic thing that the state or the executive decides arbitrarily and then labels something a crime that isn't a crime and then uses that as justification to enter a city. But when we are talking about things that are objectively a crime, right, which is violation of people's right to their body or their property, right? Those people have no right to not be kidnapped and forced to pay restitution and retribution for those crimes. And insofar as the state makes it illegal for me to go and take care of myself, or for companies to take care of it, or for private security to go take care of it, so long as they say you don't have the right to vigilante justice, then it becomes their duty to ensure that those criminals face punishment. And that is true of the local community. And if the local community is failing, that's true of Donald Trump to send in somebody to take care of those criminals.
Yeah. So Scott, like here in California, right, with this massive issue when the Democrats pushed through this law or this. I think we voted on this actually. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we voted on this as a state. The change to the law that made theft a misdemeanor. right? So up to like $1,000, if I remember correctly, or $500, one of those, I can't remember. So you had a ton of like shoplifting happening, like overnight. Just the rates of like reported shoplifting, I think actually dropped because people just weren't reporting it to the police. They weren't even bothering to call the police.
Well, what's the point?
Yeah.
So I mean, Walmart moved
in
out.
reality, you had a ton of people.
But I think felony, to be fair, felony did go up because companies very quickly figured out that if they use CCTV
they can keep track of people,
and identify a person, and then they'd go above 1,000. And so because of that, grand larceny claims did go up slightly.
Yes.
But you're correct. Petty theft went way down because it was basically unreported.
Yeah. So, and we saw like the consequences of that here in California, right? Like suddenly everything's locked behind some plastic thing.
Everything but suntan lotion.
Yeah. It's really, really fucking annoying. Right? Really annoying. But, so in this case, this is a terrible law, right? Terrible change to the law that we voted into place for some fucking reason. Like, why are you saying that you would be for the federal government coming in with the National Guard to just reject that law, to impose the prior law, or to say, hey, you guys don't get to these people that you guys are not going to arrest or not going to report for theft or whatever. We're going to arrest them anyway, based on federal law. Like, is that?
So I would say that the initial law is anarcho-tyranny, right? It is by the very nature of making it illegal for private security to, forcibly kidnap people that are shoplifting and then force them to pay back the funds or return the things that they stole. That is the government instituting forced lawlessness on its own people. I would be perfectly fine, with the FBI setting up, some type of organization or sting to, find, repeat offenders or people that are, because, like specifically, I wouldn't want the moment the FBI or like the National Guard steps into the city en masse, right? That becomes an entirely new problem. Right. It's not following what I would consider a gentleness principle, but it becomes an entirely new problem where private property owners now have these forced, militarization of their streets. Their businesses are fucked in some ways. There's like all these trespassers. This is not the appropriate way for the government to do it. That is the least invasive way. But if, for example, the FBI was tracking Discord groups, right, where people like come to, or Telegram or Facebook chat groups, like where sometimes they show up and there's like 50 people coming in and stealing clothes and then they throw them in trucks, right?
Yeah.
If the federal law enforcement were tracking that, knew when that was going to happen, and then boom, they were just there when it happened and the roads were closed and they arrested every one of those fuckers, regardless of what your state laws are, I would say
but
that
I don't
is
think
a reasonable
I think most people wouldn't have an issue with that, right? But the reality is, like, that's not
my answer to the question. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I support the National Guard in these cities, right? Okay. I'm giving context on what it is that I believe and what the problems are, what the contradictions of the state are, and promulgating my philosophy.
Then let me ask
you
a great thing. I think
I'm not pro Trump sending in the National Guard into Portland. I think it's a stupid waste of taxpayer money. I think it causes more problems than it solves, and I think it's mostly a magic trick show to either get someone hurt so that they can have justification for extreme law and order crackdowns that would be very bad, or to just create controversy that distracts from whatever the fuck is going on with Israel, whatever the fuck is going on with TikTok, whatever the fuck is going on with the Epstein files and things like that, and to drum up support from his base where they're like, holy paste, he sent in the National Guard into Portland because he's badass, when, he's not delivering on the promises of his deportation or basically anything that he said that he would do.
So Grid, I mean, it sounded like you were more in favor of this than Scott was. Would you be opposed to that? So California, that unpopular, well, it was popular at the time we voted for it, apparently. So this terrible law, when it passed, would you be in favor of the National Guard coming in to patrol the streets to make sure that we didn't enforce that law in the way that we wanted to?
Well, I mean, you're talking about a misdemeanor, so no, I wouldn't be, unless of course it started turning into people getting hurt and nobody doing anything about it. I know that during that period of time, people were not allowed to stop the people from shoplifting. They were, basically store security was just told to let them walk out with it. It got so bad that Walmart left the area. So No, I wouldn't be in favor of that. But now if we're talking felonies, you know, like people are assaulting people, people are throwing bricks through windows, people are damaging, you know, vehicles, you know, setting them on fire, that sort of thing. I think that what you're trying to do is say, well, it's this tiny little misdemeanor law that happened, and would I support? But it became a big thing. I understand, and I agree. It did actually become a very big thing. I'm glad I wasn't there when that was going on. But I think you're drawing a, you know, right, and so if you told me that line is violent, let me give you a what it, you know, I'm going to do a what about. I rarely do what about isms, but what about this? Let's say instead of California passing a stupid ass law about shoplifting, they passed it about assault. Like you could beat your wife once a week. That was okay, but if you did it more than that, then it became a felony as a problem. Would you be? I mean, would that be equivalent?
We sort of have this in California too.
Holy shit! No kidding.
It's not about like beating people, right? It's the what is it? It's like a misdemeanor to intentionally or knowingly give somebody an STD.
That's right. You're right about that.
It's fucking crazy.
Like Wiener pushed that through, believe it or not.
I forgot. You're absolutely right about that. I totally forgot.
How did Anthony Weiner do that? He's from New York.
Yeah, he did it in California. It was absolutely what Anthony. No, I wouldn't be surprised if this exists in New York too, but this absolutely exists in California. I don't think it was Weiner though.
Yeah.
Well, no, wasn't he funding like the DA? I might just be wrong. I'm okay with being wrong on that one. I thought.
Yeah, I don't know that.
I wouldn't be surprised. I do have to interrupt for a second, only because someone actually paid me $50 to ask this question. Yeah. So someone just wanted to ask the panel, why is offloading millions of dollars of crime onto working class people better than allowing private enforcement of law onto companies who would be put out of business through boycotts given poor or neglectful enforcement?
10 words or
the
less.
ANCAPs came in, right?
Well, I think this is so during this shoplifting spree in California, if I remember correctly, it wasn't that the security guards could not legally stop people.
Right.
It was that the stores told them not to because it wasn't worth.
Well, no, because
and then of course they don't want to risk lawsuits if the security guard beats somebody up or whatever the fuck.
Right. So I think that, and I don't know which city it was in. I want to say LA, but it could have been somewhere else. They actually said that private security guards could not stop people from, physically can't stop people from doing anything. That became part of the that became codified, I believe. So they can't touch people. Now they're armed. I think there's a crossover between like your regular, store security guy and like armed guards, but I'm not really sure because I don't live in California anymore, and I don't know if they codified that. I mean, I think like when I used to work for a bank, right, and they were like, hey, like if someone comes in and robs you, like don't go chasing them down the street, right? Like that's not your job. I think I would imagine in this case, and maybe I'm wrong, right? It's possible that I'm wrong. I imagine it's like, it's not worth it because I saw like footage, of like people like
it's a legal thing
and stuff, but like they don't. Yeah, one, it's illegal, but it might be illegal, but they don't want the liability, right?
That's what I'm saying. The liability.
Yeah,
there's a solution to this though. The solution is you have a law indemnifying, or not really indemnifying, but immunizing stores from liability if you can prove that the person's committing a crime.
Is that qualified immunity?
Qualified immunity for retail stores. Yeah. Boom.
In the UK,
that's the world we live in.
That will solve the problem.
In the UK, there's
no new problems.
No, no, in the
just
UK, don't steal.
No, you can totally trust the stores.
In the UK, there's this company called TMI, TM and then EYE, right? It's a private security firm. It's a private security firm that has, I think, very close. It's like a 99% success rate in prosecutions. And they, what they do is they use facial recognition as well as plainclothes people in stores and wait until shoplifters have reached the level of grand larceny, then do citizens arrests, and then use a team of lawyers to ensure that these people are prosecuted. And they work pretty well. They're only in, neighborhoods where, places have enough money to be able to do that currently, and they're, heavily restricted. But yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of what the panel, the person was asking is, you know what I mean? Like, why do we need the fucking, the federales in the goddamn streets?
I can answer.
When we could just unshackle the goddamn market to solve this problem.
So I'll answer the question as the non-ANCAP. The concern would be that the private security forces could be enforcing the law in a mismatched way to where they aren't getting boycotted by the people who pay them, and if they get boycotted by the people who don't pay them or can't afford to pay them, they don't have to care, right? If I'm a private organization and my customer base,
they don't have qualified immunity, sue them. They would you would literally have far better success than you would ever sue.
Okay, you're going to sue them in the private court, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What if they have a deal with the private court?
What do you? Oh no, you mean like we're going full on Afghanistan? That's an entirely different. That's an entirely different scenario than unleashing the market and maintaining everything else being equal.
Yeah, if you maintain some kind of like level, you can sue them. I mean, we currently have this in a lot of states, like bail enforcement agents, otherwise known as basically bail agents, mercenaries by another name. Like they will, like I don't know. I get it. On the other hand, like somebody not from the government coming into my house.
Oh no,
I don't like anybody in my house.
We go that far. I'm not.
But like some fucking Joker in like a Mickey Mouse outfit,
we're not even
coming in.
We're not even that far. I'm saying deregulate security enough to allow security to do citizens arrests and build cases against people the moment that they are caught shoplifting.
I still like my idea of qualified immunity for retail stores. I think that will just solve the problem. Because the problem right now is like, okay, somebody steals some shit, right? And then you tackle them. Oh, my back! You hurt my back. I'm gonna sue you. You can't tackle me. Oh no! All the company should have to do is prove you were trying to steal shit. I took reasonable action to stop you.
Yeah, I don't disagree with your
tase you, something like that.
Dealing with the
and then you should just be
I agree
immune.
with your position.
Yeah,
right. Like you should not be prosecutable in any way, shape, or form, both civilly or criminally, for injuries that a person sustains in the act or commission of a crime, right? Like if they're stealing, I should be able to tackle you. Now, granted, maybe we can have some common law for now, so long as we still have this current justice system that like proper escalation, that you can't like pull out a gun and shoot somebody, but like, you know what I mean? Because they're stealing some Twizzlers.
Can you tackle them
like,
So I thought about this. Well, I thought about this, and
yes, a still bullet.
I agree with you that, like, politically speaking, like this would be a complete non-starter. So sure, I guess we can't have the executions for the Twizzlers. But on the other hand,
I guess
if you had that rule in place and then somebody stole Twizzlers, knowing full well that this is the potential penalty.
No, I said you'd have to have.
Do we really want that
of force?
No,
so
I understand.
You can tackle somebody.
No, I hear you, Scott. Sure, but
like
Scott,
reasonable, etc.
But Scott, but think about this for a second. I understand what you're saying,
but
if somebody knows that, like, okay, so let's say the retail store has like a camera mounted, like a ceiling mounted camera gun, and it's like got a laser on the guy's head as he's stealing the Twizzlers, and he continues to steal the Twizzlers. Okay, like, I don't want to say he's asking for it.
Are you trying to say no means no?
You are saying that.
But like,
yeah, I mean, I would say
why steal the Twizzlers if you know the result is going to be death?
I would
put the Twizzlers back.
I would say that just outside of this panel, maybe we can have a conversation, or you could just read up on the gentleness principle, right? Like there's a certain level of objectively correct means of rational force, right? And so like you couldn't nuke a target, for example, because someone was stealing.
Oh, because collateral damage.
Right, but even still, like you couldn't like fire off a machine gun into the store, in the hopes that it definitely killed this person, right?
Well,
there's a reasonable level of.
I understand.
I don't want to get too into the principle, but like,
I get it. So what I'm saying though is like, and when it comes to, like, the main reason why I think like I'm really opposed to this is because, like, what if a child who doesn't understand the potential consequences steals a Twizzler? Like, they got to be exempt somehow.
There's a pointer on the head.
But
that's where the tackling comes into play. Huge tackling.
Yeah, that's where the tackling comes into play.
Fortnite sucks to be them.
But like, here's the thing. Like what kind of person? Like, what kind of, like, truly? What kind of, like, upstanding contributory citizen is this person?
It might be crazy.
Where they're going to
have a mental illness, and you're saying, like, and what happened? Because I literally, sorry, Gibbs, I see your hand. And I'm
it's not an excuse for crime.
But no, hold on. I saw
sort of is.
I saw this individual, right, who was like, she was homeless, and I'm sure she has some sort of tragic backstory. I'm positive of that. But she was in the same.
He's getting more libertarian every day. I'm sure she has some tragic backstory. Whatever. Anyways.
Oh God,
more and more libertarian every day, Prime.
I'm
sure. Whatever. Fucking empathy. Anyways, next.
It was some encampment type thing, right? And I saw this woman. Like, things were starting to disappear from the encampment. Like, what the fuck? Like I know this thing was right here. They were just disappear, right?
Wait, what was disappearing from? What?
Sorry.
Where was it disappearing from?
Like, it's like an encampment. Like, basically, there are a bunch of different tents and stuff, right? Like a protest type thing.
Okay.
Yeah, just like imagine a bunch of like tents and shit, right? And anyway, this individual would like go ahead, right? Like, and just like start taking things. I remember she like walked right in front of me, right? Like, I know this lady, and she just started taking stuff. I'm like, hey lady, what are you doing, right? And she just started taking my stuff, right? And then she just like went into this into this little tent thing that she had, right? And so like we started talking about it. I was like, yeah, we got to do something. So like the camp came together, and we went into our tent. Like, all our stuff was there, right? And we had to demolish the tent and like toss this lady out. But like, she was like out of her mind. She was like a deep kleptomaniac. And I can imagine her in the store, the CVS or the fuck, right? I honestly doing exactly what you said, taking the Twizzlers. Now, she was otherwise harmless, as far as I can tell, but taking the Twizzlers, right, with the laser pointer at her head, because she literally can't help herself. And like,
yeah, but what do you do with this kind of person? What do you do with this person?
We put her in a mental institution or something, right? Like we locked her away. It was like what we should.
Who's going to pay for that?
Okay,
well,
right.
I think I have a solution. You know, and it's good.
Okay, how about tranquilizer darts instead of the machine gun? Compromise.
Hold on. No, I got a solution.
Okay,
tranquilizer darts fine. I don't care if like 0.1% die from because they hold on. I got a solution or some shit.
I think that there's actually we marry y'all's two positions, Fabian's and Lactoid's here. One, I actually think that Lactoid brought up a good point. I don't want like, you know, some Mickey Mouse bullshit where they're walking up in and they're like not beholden to having to have warrants, and you know they come in and they got their little own thing. And I have a concern
what was
about
my
that.
argument?
Sure, I know it's not, but like I mean, we all know that that's what they're going to do. We're gonna have police agencies hiring private firms to go and do this investigation because they don't need the warrant to do it because they're a private citizen, you know. And then they're like,
that's completely unconnected from anything that I said, or
sure, I know it is, but
it's from the
no. I mean, I think it's reasonable. Hold on. I think it is reasonable within the realm of possibility for that to happen. But I have
because it wasn't when I was arguing making legal.
But hear me out. Just let me finish here. I think there is a solution though, and it's maybe back to what we were talking about earlier today. Is maybe the AI, and what we do is we set up an option with these private companies where they could install an AI mounted like Gatling gun and maybe an electric net system, and it identify the AI, and then the AI can identify if they're under 18, and if they're under 18, under you know, maybe a mental distress, they get electrocuted.
Scan for mental illness too.
Yeah, and they get electrocuted. Or if they're like over 18,
psychopaths now. Like,
and then instead, hold on. Instead of having to worry about these people sitting in the mental institution, they can just get mowed down for when they have their psychotic break, and then we don't have to pay for that shit no more, and we don't have to pay for their crime. And then guess what? That saves taxpayers dollars. We create a new industry, and it's going to solve the problem of people stealing shit. Because guess what? If you're going to worry about getting caught by an AI Gatling gun every time you go to steal, like buy a Snickers, and maybe you won't steal that fucking Snickers no more.
I have the solution. Prime, you're going to love this. They shoot a tranquilizer dart, and then they wake up employees of the store. And then they have to work for like a certain amount of time.
Just waiting in front of the dishwasher, just like what the fuck?
Service guarantee citizenship.
This is a very ANCAP solution to that.
It's not. Gibbs' solution is an ANCAP because it's a violation.
No, I'm talking about
the rights. to just full blown.
Yeah, you work off the
yeah,
debt.
yeah, to work off the
but being tranked and then kidnapped and then forced to work off the debt is absolutely an ANCAP solution. Now,
yeah,
if they're underage, right?
We should
have guardians
for
incarceration,
right? So then it would be the
if they're underage, you ransom them back to their parents.
Computer systems,
yes,
right?
literally.
Computer systems that have a facial
I got
recognition
lactoid
system,
with that one.
that are famously good with
men
distinguishing
love
black
Captain
faces, right? Famously so. We should.
You gonna harp on that shit from like 10 years ago from Apple? Like they're fine now.
It's not. It's
facial
not
recognition
fine.
software is not as bad as it was.
No, it's not fine, and it depends on the vendor. These things aren't universal, too, right?
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some AI sucks. Yeah.
I'm pretty excited for BlackRock and Gatling guns in convenience stores.
Do you have anything to say, Doobie? Then from there, I want to move on to the topic at hand because we're.
Fuck it. Why not?
They're not going to lock up our ice cream anymore.
I was gonna ask if they would use because I mean I'm sure you guys would consider an adult marrying a minor to be like an act of abuse, right?
Yeah.
Many states have a very low age of consent law. California has no minimum marriage age, right? So if you get a judge to sign off on marriage with the parent there, Lacto's looking it up.
Why did the Muslims go to Michigan?
He's gonna find that I'm true, or he's gonna find that I'm correct, right? No minimum marriage age in California. So if it were the case, right, that children are getting married to adults in California, which is, I think most people would consider to be some sort of abuse, right? Because would you be in favor of the federal government coming in and cracking down on that? Like what is the limit? So
there's some crimes, yeah.
Yeah, so so I understand violence, like direct physical violence. I get that.
Are we talking like a David Koresh kind of cult sort of thing? Or are we talking just one or two guys, getting younger? Because again, I think it's a scale.
Got parents and a judge to sign off on marrying their 9-year-old daughter, right?
That judge should probably be excised. Like that judge, like the feds should come in, arrest that judge.
Right.
Say,
that's poor judgment.
Bro.
Yeah,
I am in favor, given the current status quo of the FBI arresting people for sex trafficking and child abuse. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah,
that's all that
so
is.
You'd consider that sex
trafficking? We would invade the island, Doobie.
I see. Okay. So
would you invade? Would you invade the island?
Lactoid in your America, a state can't vote democratically to have, like child marriage.
No. So there's I think that states can vote on things, but there is a range of acceptable things they can vote on. And if they go outside this range, then they're like, yeah, we're going to bring back slavery. No. And then we're going to say, hey, buddy, segregation. You can't do that.
My position is very clear, and the most concise, clear way that I can put it is this.
Or segregation, Prime.
That if the state takes away the ability of the population to pay, to enforce justice, and they say we are the monopoly on power and violence and the justice system, then it becomes incumbent upon the state to house and or punish criminals for actual crimes. That does not include crimes that don't have a victim, right? But crimes in which you have harmed the property or persons of another human being, it is incumbent upon the state. If the local government votes away both your right to vigilantism or private courts or insurance, etc., your ability to enact law and justice, and allows those criminals to roam free and allows those victims to go, without that justice, it then becomes incumbent upon the federal government to enforce that justice in the most unobtrusive and cost-effective way possible.
Okay, but this is
that is going to be my metric.
I get it, but this is the issue that I have, right? Because there are states where a 15-year-old girl can get married to an adult, right? 16-year-old, 17-year-old. So what is the limit? Where's the line for what we say? Hey, this is now sex trafficking of a child. And the federal government should come in.
Age of consent is always going to be a difficult one, especially when you have parental permission as well as a judge's permission, right? Now, if we're talking about no parental permission, no judge's permission, then the state should probably use the arbitrary category that they've decided upon, which is 18. But if we have parental permission and judge's permission, yeah, it gets the waters get more murky as we get closer to 18. Right? My personal position is that it should be 25 unless a parents both agree and the children agree to emancipate the child, or a child goes to court to get emancipated. Right? I think you should be an adult at 18, but I think certain things should require a parent's sign off or either an emancipation. Things like federal student loans,
Yeah, I get that.
where
But I
kids are
think
going into massive debt, et cetera. But given our current paradigm,
Yeah.
like we don't live in Ancapistan. I have to engage in the world we're currently living in, right? Like if there's no judge's permission and there's no parental permission, we should deal with 18. I don't know the perfect line in when you have parental permission and a judge's permission. Right.
Right,
9 is obviously too fucking low.
So what about 50? So in Mississippi, for example, there are plenty of red states like this, right?
Yeah.
Where 15, 16-year-old girl, like in Mississippi, it's 15. So a 15-year-old girl and a 17-year-old boy, for some reason, there's like a 2-year gap there, can get married to like a 40-year-old dude if they want to, right? In Mississippi.
Right.
Yeah,
so I think that's disgusting. I
understand.
That's wrong.
Well, hold on. I understand your position.
That justifies the
I
FBI.
understand your position. I'm trying to understand the position
my
of
bad.
the others, right? Who were in favor of the federal government coming in and imposing or enforcing sex trafficking laws on these judges and these parents and yada yada. So, like, what is like Grid? How do you justify? How do you justify?
I forgot
not
that
sending,
he advocated the high school BJ's classes. So obviously,
like, Grid, how do you justify like
So obviously, this is a LARP by Doobie.
No, hold on.
I'm sorry.
So
what?
clear,
Oh my bad. I thought I was muted. I was talking to my chat.
Clear, I'm not in favor.
Fun of you.
I'm not in favor of this, right? Of the federal government coming in and doing this. I'm asking you guys what your line is, because you are in favor of the federal government coming in and imposing some kind of federal law that contradicts state law on these states. Right. So, Grid, what is the argument?
What contradicts state law?
Okay. So, what is the argument for not having the National Guard come in and impose an 18 marriage age on Mississippi, where 15-year-old girls can get married to?
Well, we have states' rights, but again, you keep trying this tactic, and I don't see where you're going with it. We're not talking about a couple of people getting married. You're talking about
I'm talking about the sexual trafficking of children.
Right. Okay, sure. And you know what? The feds have gone.
I bit the bullet. You bite the bullet like I did. All right, boy.
You in Moss, we've gone after sex trafficking, have we not? With the feds. But again, literally, the FBI has been investigating all over the country. With, by the way, occasionally having to use federal marshals and other federal resources to assist in the arrest. So, what is your point?
My point is, given that Mississippi has legalized child sex trafficking, do you think the federal government should come in and impose federal?
I don't know that that's sex trafficking. You're going to have to define it a little better for me, because I don't believe that that's sex trafficking. I think it's gross. I don't think it's sex trafficking.
Okay. Well, do you think
it's sex crime?
Do you think
it's only sex trafficking if you do what Destiny did, which is fly them across state lines.
True. Okay, that's true. So, but I mean, I hope you would think that's abusive. It might be abusive in some way, or is abusive in some way, right? We're talking about like a 15-year-old and a 40-year-old dude, even with parental consent, right? If you get some parent to sign off on this, like, still,
yes, the Fed should rate it. Yes,
it's not okay. So you guys are saying that Grid, you're saying that. Well, I think your position should be that Mississippi should be subjected to the federal government coming in with the National Guard and changing that law, or not allowing them to have this law in Mississippi.
No, you can't do that, because you're trying with it, and it's not equivalent. You can't do that. Why? Because it's first of all, states have states' rights.
Well, apparently not. They have some
rights.
They
do. Of course they do.
Well, okay, but they have some rights. But
right, but you're not. Hold on. Here's a problem you have, dude. Here's a problem you have. We're not talking about going in and changing Portland's laws. We're going in and saying, hey, these crimes are not being these laws are not being enforced, or they're not being, these police can't, I guess, not competently, that's not the right word to use, but they're not capable of enforcing laws currently.
Right. Empowered, I guess.
The existing laws, Doobie. Give me the example of where the federal government, other than like, well, actually, I can give you an example, but I want you to. Give me an example of where the federal government has gone in with troops and said, you're going to change this law the way I want it to be changed.
I think that wouldn't that be like the end of segregation, where they came in with federal troops and forced them to?
In like 1960. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that happened.
Yeah,
but is that happening currently in any?
No, but I'm telling you, this is what I'm trying to understand, right? So, given that that we just went through about states having the ability to, within a window, vote on things.
Sure.
Given that Mississippi has legalized sexual abuse of children in some way, like, why shouldn't the federal government come in and say, hey, you guys don't get to have this law, so we are going to make you enforce an 18?
Because again, we both know you can't do that. That's not how that's not how states' rights work.
What if it was like what if Mississippi said, "Hey,
can we do a thought experiment? Hold on, can we just do a thought experiment? What if it's 9-year-olds? What if a state, right, said has a rampant?
Well, Tennessee used to have 12-year-old. It used to be in the laws.
Hold on, but hear me out. Let's say Michigan. Let's say Dearborn, Michigan, right, changes their law because they have so many Muslims.
Fuck was that?
So Dearborn, Michigan. Changes the local law and the state just is permissive. They're like, oh, okay, whatever, you guys can do that or whatever, and they make it to where you can marry any adult, any age can marry a 9-year-old child, right? And this starts happening everywhere. Like mosques across the country are celebrating child marriages of 9-year-olds to 45-year-old men.
Yeah, that would be that's a hard one for me. On the one hand, I'm kind of a constitutionalist, so I mean there's states' rights, and I would hope that the state would not do that. But you're right. You make a great point. You make a great point that that it could happen in a place like Dearborn or somewhere similar to that. It could.
So
don't put this on the Muslims. Christians do this. Hold on, Muslims. Like Christians
saying it could happen. He's got a point. He made a great.
It could happen in Dearborn.
Largely permissive of it. Yes.
No, he didn't.
Some Christian denominations are.
He said it could happen specifically in Dearborn. It could.
I just use Muslims.
Are you denying that?
A very, very specific age that their religion
says. Right. Yeah, I got it. I picked it up. Yeah. No, I understand it.
That's why I use Muslims. Right? Because that's the perfect age.
Doobie, what's wrong with the answer that I gave and a lot of people here gave, which is just yes, like for that thing, you send in the troops and you stop it. What's the problem?
I think what you're advocating for is the invasion of most of the red states in the country that have laws like this on the books. And if that's what you're advocating for, Lactoid, then
I'm cool with red states having the FBI come in and stop child brides.
Yeah. Here's what you do.
I mean, I would. You
issue a proclamation.
Marshals, I don't know that we'd have to send in troops, but sure. I mean, I would grant.
No, you mandate they change it. You say you change this, otherwise the troops are coming. Right. You give them a 10-day grace period. Good luck.
Or just cut the funding.
Just cut the funding. Yes,
we're not going to give you any more money.
Right. Interesting. So you think that Scott thinks that the age should be 25, right? So you guys would say 20. I mean, I'm sure you guys would agree with Scott. Basically. Would you say 18?
Wait, 25 for what? For
the age of consent. Yeah, I think Scott meant.
Wait, the age of consent or the age of marriage?
I said age of consent without parental permission.
Yeah.
Or without the child emancipating
25?
themselves. I said if we have to
pick an age. You missed it. It was good.
If we have to pick an age, hold on. I'm gonna explain my position real quick. Sorry, Grid. I know I'm interrupting, but
no, it's fine.
If I have to pick an age, right, I'm going to say certain things that are severe, right, such as rental agreements, student loans, any form of contract, and including sex, should require either parental permission or there should be a process where both the parents and the child, if they agree, can sign a document that says you're emancipated, you're good to go once you're 18. Or if a child wants to fight for those rights, then they can go to court, right? So if you're 26, you're free from your parents no matter what. But if you're 18 and your parents disagree, you can go to court as long as you can prove that you're of sound mind and body, that you can make rational decisions, that you're a moral actor, which most 18-year-olds would be able to do, then you could be emancipated.
So, hypothetically then, a 25, hypothetically 25-year-old girl, or I guess you said 25, so 24 and 300 something fucking days, okay? And
she was
then
24 and 364 days old. You fucking
and she's lazy. She never bothered to go to court and be emancipated. And then I swoop in and lay down my Casanova skills, and I have sex with her. Okay, should I get in trouble for this?
Yeah,
you sick fuck.
What would the punishment be for me in that scenario?
Wood chipper.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Wood chipper
for a 24-year-old woman. Or sorry, girl. I don't want to poison the well.
She was 17 and 9 months. Bro.
I don't know the perfect number, but there's a reason why I give two numbers, both 18 and 25. Right? Like I would consider this like a misdemeanor crime. Right? Like this would be something like I don't want the state fucking going around trying to like this would be like a ticketable offense, something that we're trying to deter. But I understand that like a 24-year-old that's lazy and doesn't get their shit done. And this is assuming that she told you the truth and that she didn't lie, right?
Would this apply?
Ticketable offense.
Would this apply to like when you talk about contracts? Would this also apply to the military?
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that with the military. I think it's crazy that we let 18.
We're gonna lose our whole military then at 25.
I don't. Yeah. Oh no, we bomb less people. Because our military.
I don't know if we're drafting.
You lost me there, baby. You had me considered it. Now you lost.
I didn't ever say anything about drafting people.
I mean, with the advent of like drone warfare, they're using like Xbox controllers for these drones. I think you start losing your gaming abilities after 25. So we might fuck ourselves.
I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it.
That's true.
Again, if the parents are cool with their 18-year-old going and joining the army, which a lot of parents in this country are, by the way, then they can simply emancipate their child with a piece of paperwork. That is what I'm talking about, is that I think there should be a level of protection for people that are 18, 19, 20, 21 years old that are fucking below average IQ, that are not very mature, that are not very worldly,
going out
into the world immediately and being able to, sign contracts or, engage in promiscuous sex.
What would the legal age of alcoholism
do things that are
also 25, I would assume.
Alcoholism is like, what do you mean?
I mean,
when could you sign off on the
alcohol? I mean, I mean, at that point,
I would use 18 and 25 for all of these things.
For all of those. All right.
With parental permission, if an 18-year-old wants to fucking drink without parental permission, I don't like the idea of 19-year-old kids at a fucking
25 is so old.
Getting drinking.
25 is old, dude.
Just because you're middle-aged, lactoid doesn't mean that.
I'm fucking. That feels.
This is what they require.
No matter what number you pick, it is going to be an arbitrary number because everyone develops at different rates. 25 is where the average, both male and female, has a fully developed prefrontal cortex.
Yeah, if I showed you a study, hold on. If I showed you evidence showing that it's actually the final pruning happens until you're like 31, 32, does that change your opinion at all?
I would have to look at the neuroscience behind what the substantive difference is here.
Sure.
Right? But like if it's like a 2% difference or something, you know what I mean? Like then
it's final pruning.
It would change my opinion.
Okay, so there's like once the brain stops developing so fast.
Again, every number that we pick is arbitrary. It does not matter what so long as you pick a number, that number is arbitrary because people are going to develop at different rates. Some people are high IQ, some people are low IQ. 9-year-old. Some people are very mature for their age. Some people are very immature for their age.
I'm not touching that.
This is why I have this large window between 18 and 25 that says, hey, if you can prove or if the parents agree that you are of sound mind and rational to be a rational actor, then boom, we just fill out this paperwork, you're done. But if you can't prove that and the parents are like, no, our kid's retarded, right? Like he needs to stay at home, he needs some extra home training, and you can't prove it to a judge or anything, then then your brain needs to cook a few more years.
Scott, I'm not criticizing you keep saying that it's arbitrary whatever age you pick. I agree that I'm not criticizing you necessarily the logical consistency of your point. You could have somebody say 80. I think that you come into sufficient wisdom to consent to these things when you turn 80. You could have this person say this, and then I could say 80 seems a bit steep, and they would say, well, I mean, what's the difference? I can justify 80 just as you can justify 21 or 18. Fair enough.
Right, but well, not just as easily, because I have a rational argument for why I
can come up with a rational argument too. The wisdom, right? There's a sufficient level of wisdom at 18 to make at 80 to make these decisions.
You're saying Biden was wise.
Yeah, again,
right?
This is the problem with the fact that age
agree with that.
is
one of the few.
Is indeed an arbitrary number, right? So we have to do this upon a consequential basis. Like, that is just the reality of the situation.
Well, hold on. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. And I think 25 is a bit high for that consequential kind of analysis.
And I'm okay with that debate. I'm just giving you my argumentation as to why I think 1825 is one that works and preserves rights to the best of my ability.
So you're okay with imposing the arbitrary number of 18 on the country, like top down from the federal government?
I like Scott's idea of like 18 or it's like 21. Or between 18 and 21 is.
So you like my idea, but 25 is too steep. Maybe like
exactly, yeah. 25 is too far, but like between 18 and 21 is pretty good.
Hold on. This kind of seems like.
Wait, hold on. What'd you say, Doobie?
This kind of seems. Hold on, real quick. This seems kind of like almost.
You said something shitty.
I didn't say anything. What are you talking about?
Doobie would never.
I said something.
No.
Doobie said something.
Okay, anyway, so it seems almost like the Mimi kind of thing, where like I don't know, I'm sure y'all played Helldivers or at least heard of Helldivers now. They have a little cutscene in there, and one of the cutscenes is like, hey, before you like try to procreate or do any activities that could lead to sex, make sure you fill out whatever triplicate form C, right? And like this almost seems like what y'all are about to be advocating for. Like, oh, instead of let's look at instead of age, I mean, the next step's going to be, why don't you just apply every time you have sex to an AI, turn this form in, and then the AI is going to decide if you and this person can have sex based off,
Well, the AI that you want will decide life and death. So why not for sex?
Well, hold on. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, at this point, let's just go full managed democracy, like the Helldivers, the way y'all are describing this shit. Because the AI can sit here and go, oh, based off their biometric data, this person matured to the same mental age as a 25-year-old, right? Or, oh, this person, even though they're 19, they have the same biometrical, like this intelligence as, a 30-year-old, right? Like, they're going to be able to sit here and figure that shit out, right? So, let's just do that. So
why are you arguing a straw man that has nothing to do with my
what I'm saying
is no, I'm
not pussy. What I'm saying is,
okay, so argue against my argument.
I like to eat pussy, but I don't know what that has to do with anything.
But like when it goes from video game,
when it goes from well, I'm telling you how. What it goes from, what this seems like is it's a slippery slope. Because first we're going to start with this, where it's like, oh, well, we have to sit here and if you don't compile this form about being emancipated, or if you don't reach this metric because it's an arbitrary metric, well, why don't we just let the AI start deciding it, and we can just go buy?
That's a completely different leap. That's not a leap. That's not a slippery slope.
It's a slippery slope,
right? Like, so it's not a slippery slope, and I'll explain why. Right? Because the argument that I am making, whether it be 21 or 25, etc., right, is utilizing systems that already exist, number one, and the logic behind it is the logic of guardianship of children, preserving children as would-be adults until they are at a point where they have sufficient mental capacity to be rational actors that are aware of the consequences of their actions. Okay, and so what I am arguing is that not everybody right at the magic number of 18 is ready for that. And what I'm arguing is that if parents think that their children are ready for that, then they can relinquish that guardianship. Well, we already have driver's licenses
now at this point.
But that's an entirely different thing. One is about guardianship and parental rights and the concept of rational actors as children. The other is about a technocracy utilizing the state's arbitrary metrics. Now, I agree that there is an arbitrariness to the ages that we pick, such as 18 and 21 or 18 and 25, but the rationale is not arbitrary. It is not AI-based. It is not technocracy-based. It is based around consent and based around whether or not a child is ready or is mentally ready to be an adult, and whether or not the guardians of said child agree to that, those that are closest and those that have the most that are custodians of those children's rights. We already have driver's licenses in most states where it's like horizontal if you're an adult and vertical if you're not an adult, right? So that you can very quickly show your ID when you're buying alcohol or tobacco or things like that. All I would do is, instead of having this horizontal at 18 and then vertical at 18 and horizontal at 21, I would just do the same process. But if you fill out the paperwork and the papers say, yeah, we emancipate, you're good, then you get the horizontal ID. And if you're good, and if you're the type of, and if you're a dude in your fucking 40s trying to fuck girls that are 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. I don't think it's that crazy that if you're going to be a fucking Destiny level sex pest on fucking teens, that you fucking go, let me see your ID. I don't think that's fucking crazy to be like, let me see your ID first. If you're going to be a 36-year-old man chasing after fucking 19-year-olds to make sure that they're fucking actually emancipated and that their parents have decided that they have the rational capacity to be able to make those decisions.
Should probably also make sure they're 19.
Wait a minute. Very important detail here. So you said, I'm going to roll with your situation where it's between 18 and 25, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Does this apply to voting?
I would apply it to voting as well, yeah.
Okay. But can a parent like specifically like approve or deny their kids voting based on how they assume they're going to vote?
No, I would say you don't get voting until you are considered to be a full adult that doesn't need a guardian's co-signer for you.
Okay.
Like I think it would be crazy that they could like let you go to college and let you take student loans and let you get married, but not let you vote, right? Like I think you are either an adult or you are not an adult. And this is, albeit an arbitrary means, but I think a better means than our current system of being able to determine who are rational actors and moral agents. Because I see a world where there are a lot of 18 and 19-year-olds that are now, as life becomes easier,
you see a lot of 18
there are
and
less
19-year-olds?
Challenges. Sure, you get where life becomes easier. Well, I saw a lot of them in the army. Let me tell you, where life becomes easier, where there's less challenges, and where people are not struggling as much as they grow, and you have very immature, naive teenagers that are taken advantage of by older people or by, government institutions like that put out student loans, and they don't know what fucking they want to do in college, and then they're 80 grand in debt with a fucking general studies degree or some bullshit that's not helping them, or they're fucking married to a man that's 45. And yeah, I'm sorry, red pillars out there. I think it's fucking weird when there's like an 18-year-old naive girl and some 40-year-old dude, and there's no parental involvement, right? And there's a power imbalance there. And like, yes, some 18-year-olds are very mature and some aren't. And I see increasingly more that aren't, that are being taken advantage of systems that are designed to prey upon their naivete and their lack of maturity and understanding of how the world works. And so I would like to stop that abuse, and I would like to do so in the least obtrusive way that violates the least amount of rights. That's why I present the system.
So, okay. It looks like we're not.
For the record, I avoided most ANCAP shit until I was forced into it.
I know. Oh, I'm not blaming you for anything. I'll blame you for other things later on, I'm sure, but not this.
I'll blame it. I got it.
But I don't like we're gonna get to the topic.
Yeah, probably not.
That I planned out. It's an evergreen one, so we can save it for later. There's another topic that I've been meaning. There's only one reason I haven't used this topic. It's another topic. I promised you guys I would do this again, but I just haven't gotten around to it because of Doobie. Literally, the only reason I haven't done it. Yeah, there's a topic that I want to do. It's because I'm unsure, right? If you'll be available, because I want you around for this topic, and and that's the only reason I haven't done it.
What's the topic?
You guys remember this? It was like last year. It was about a town in I'm pretty sure Mexico. Yeah, Mexico, where the hotel was like draining the water, like the water from like the aquifers, and they had like limited aquifers. Yeah, Corey remembers this. Corey's got the memory. Yeah. And we were going to discuss this. But I wanted Doobie there. Doobie bailed on me. And we didn't have our Mexican correspondent. So I don't know.
Okay, fuck you.
So,
I'll be right back. I'm listening.
I'm not Mexican, okay? I'm a brown American.
Okay, all right. But I wanted Doobie there, and I don't know when Doobie is going to be around. So we can schedule it next week if you guys want to do it. Ali, I know, wanted to do that topic a lot too, right? Like, we can schedule next week. Fairy Queen was there; she wanted to do it, but our Fairy Queen's gone, unfortunately. So we could definitely do that. So I got a bunch of evergreen stuff. Sorry, where I was going to go with this is that since we're not going to get to the topic that I actually did pick out, like I was going to engage with the voting thing. So I disagree with my friend Lactoid. Shocking, right?
About what?
About so many things. About so many things.
Do you have any idea how little that narrows it down?
Well, Brian,
Exactly, right?
I don't think that you necessarily have to like not go to the next topic. I think this is related to the next topic, right? We were talking about in the next topic that you wanted to do for the day was talking about how some of these teens are sitting here going and they're doing stupid things like subway surfing and all these things. They're dying, and we're talking about regulating laws around. Should we like regulate a law to sit here and implement like their safety? Or is this something we should just let people do? And I think this is kind of related. If you're sitting here saying that these kids are so stupid we can't stop them from riding on a subway train, I guess that kind of like leads to Fabian's point of, maybe they aren't smart enough to go and have sex at all. And I think that's kind of a similar vein. I think that they're kind of related. Do you want like the government to regulate based off people's brain development? I guess
I do see what you're saying. I don't want to shortchange that topic, but sure. I think what you just said is perfectly reasonable though, kids. Yeah. I want to have a larger conversation on that and expand it, just not even beyond subway riding. But in any case,
right.
Yeah, but I'm going to dovetail on what you just said there. Yeah, so in terms of voting, it seems like the argument that Scott was saying, and what I believe I've heard Lactoid say oftentimes, is that people don't have the wisdom to do so, and so they should wait, right? Like it should be some later age.
Well, to be fair, my argument is that if somebody doesn't have the sufficient wisdom to vote, if they don't have that wisdom to vote, then they also probably don't have the wisdom to have sex. But if they do have the wisdom necessary to have sex, then they should also have the wisdom to vote.
Okay, yeah, you have said that before.
Also, I don't think it's wisdom. I think it's IQ testing, which is a separate thing.
No, it's not IQ testing.
No,
I believe you're in favor of IQ testing.
Two separate arguments.
I'm in favor of IQ testing for voting, but that's different. That's not like on the age basis.
Okay. I don't want to get into the weeds of like what wisdom actually means, but like
a mix of like development and then life experience. You have to have some kind of heuristic.
I'm against voting for all.
Okay, so then how are you going to establish then if someone is wise enough? Is it not through IQ testing, or is it some sort of?
It would just be age. So here's how my system would work, right? So when you turn 18 or potentially 21,
you're infused with wisdom.
No, I think that you gain wisdom throughout your life, and you gain like life experience. And then when you're 18 or 21, you have a sufficient level, right? That I think that is on a heuristic basis, like you have a sufficient level to be able to consent to having sex, to sign contracts, to vote, to do all that stuff. And then when you go to vote, I think that your vote should be modified by your IQ and your ability to pass a poll exam. That's like a second order level.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So what are we talking about? Are we talking about?
I've been trying to get it out.
My opinion.
I've been trying to get it out.
Sorry.
Like, are we talking about voting? Are we talking about some hotel? Are we talking about train hopping?
We're talking about. No, we're going to talk about the hotel some other time, right?
Some other time.
Hopefully next week. If we can get Doobie to show up, then I definitely want to do it. Right?
Subway surfing should be allowed. Anyway, go ahead.
You're going to be here next week?
Yes.
See, that's why.
Hold on. It's not really like.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's not my choice, but it's basically not my choice. Okay, like I've got a wife, I've got a baby, I got a baby, we got shit to do. Okay, like I'm a very busy guy.
I understand, friend. I understand.
Throw away that crown.
Give it to your woman. Yeah.
Okay, Lactoid. Fuck you. You don't. Okay, you're old. Okay, you're aging. You're white. You're gonna get old quick. Okay.
True.
You need to settle down. Okay. So I can help you. I will help you find a woman. And then you can have your balls in a vice.
Autism rates increase with aged males. Shit increases with women age.
Right? I'm not going to be.
But as it stands right now, neurodivergent disorders seem to highly correlate with age.
Yeah, they're not going to have Tylenol.
Lactoid is pro autism because he hasn't had his babies yet, right? He's waiting, like marinating his sperm that will produce autism babies. So,
wait a minute. if I get with a 19-year-old, do the ages like mediate?
I'm wondering
out to, like,
about that
average?
too. Actually,
No.
like
So like the research
sperm quality is very low. The alcohol,
the
bad
research
diet.
seems to show
The motorcycling somehow.
that like
Yeah,
that the primary effect of neurodivergent
true.
like diagnoses is more correlated with aged male sperm. Basically every other disorder, disease, developmental thing that can like that you can have problems with become worse as the female
Okay, so the
ages.
least bad one is correlated with mine, and then everything that's actually bad.
Like, yeah, have you ever seen a non-verbal autistic that is
I
like
actually-
low functioning? Like it's pretty
Have you
rough.
heard how
surprise
he
you?
describes them? You know, they
This is
can't
gonna-
do anything at all.
I know.
They're-
I've actually worked with nonverbal autistic.
I would produce like the beautiful mind type autism, you know, like just like the one who does like astrophysics, right? Like that's the one I produce.
I agree. Like with autism, there's a certain level where, but if we're talking about just like the, you know, the sort of can't really make eye contact, but it's like a whiz at computer science, that wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I'll take that.
All right.
I mean, I'm just going to say that, you know, I had my second child at 50 and he's awesome. So I don't know.
Shout out to your kid. I'm
Look
sure
at
he's
that.
wonderful. Yeah.
See, you guys shitting on me. Didn't think about that, did you?
Yeah. He doesn't have testicles full of microplastics. Like it's different.
Hey, Lack,
I
just,
don't know. I probably
just
do,
buy a
yeah.
train conductor uniform and you'll be fine. All right.
Dude, I have this joke that I
To
put
pick
on
up
Twitter,
girls,
that I
or-
put on
Because
Twitter. Like
autistic people like trains.
I had this joke that I put on.
That was worse than I thought. I did not know.
Yeah, no, you didn't get it. It's okay. I had this joke that I've put on Twitter like 3 or 4 times maybe over like the past few years. And I now realize that there's a bunch of people like Prime guys that just don't get the joke. And I thought it was fucking hilarious, but every time I post it, it gets like 2 likes. I'm like, what the fuck? Like one day it's going to be a banger. And the tweet is, I like to date autistic girls because just like me, she wants the trains to run on time. And I feel like that's a banger of a joke, but everyone apparently it doesn't hit because nobody
I get it.
understands.
It takes,
you get it now because you didn't earlier.
Well, I remember you saying it earlier. I'm sorry.
When Grid was talking about his friend, was like, I
know he
understand.
talked
Mussolini
about
said he wants to train
but
all the time.
I didn't remember. I know you.
Just because you make the trains run on time doesn't mean everything's great.
Because he's autistic and you're fascistic. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the joke.
Can I read a comment actually on your chat that actually I think is an interesting idea?
Whose chat?
On yours, Prime. Sure. What is it? The solution is to impregnate as many women as possible and to send the undesirables or disappointing children to the mines or the fields. Prime in two sentences or less.
Genghis Khan method.
They yearn for the mines.
Children, they yearn for the mines.
Because, like, statistically speaking, like, yes, as I get older, the risk goes up, but like the risk is still going to be like single-digit percentages probably. And if I keep like cycle impregnating various
like if you just like Andrew Tate harem sex traffic a bunch of young girls, like you probably have plenty of healthy babies.
Well, I mean, we don't have to like make it like that.
Yeah, you don't have to label it. You don't have to put a label on it.
Don't label it.
I'm just saying, you know what I mean?
You don't have to describe reality.
Go back to school and then be like an OBGYN, and then you can be like a sperm donor doctor.
Okay, this is sounding pretty bad. Yeah.
Place them all with your sperm.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of white couples come in for that. And then all of a sudden black babies start coming out. It's gonna be a bit of an issue for me.
Yeah, it was definitely the IVF clinic's fault. Yeah, that's definitely what did it. Yeah, it wasn't the fucking gym instructor.
Yoga.
Okay.
The yoga instructor.
So what I was going to
no, the yoga instructor's white. Usually.
I'm trying to get it out there. Is that yes? I disagree. I think that we should have, in fact, younger people should be allowed to vote at younger ages. I think
you're gonna get so cooked. You have no idea what you're asking for. There's so many Gen Z men that are gonna be voting for fucking fascism.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not doing this for my benefit.
Cooked.
I'm doing it for democracy. right? Oh, I mean, if they're voting for fascism, then maybe democracy is over. Fair enough.
You're doing it for democracy. Hitler was democratically elected. Yay, democracy.
Fair enough.
We can't have these people voting, Prime.
Hold on. But and we're going to go to the heart of my argument here, right? So, like, why can't you have them voting at 16?
Look at
you
them.
Met a 16-year-old recently?
Yeah.
No, Scott. I'm not hanging around teenagers and high schoolers. Sorry, Scott.
Yeah, my brother's 16.
That is the argument.
Yeah.
There's a reason why you're not hanging around them. It's because they're not the kind of people that we should let vote.
No, that's not.
That's solid.
That is why.
Prime is not trying to catch a case. Is why.
That shouldn't be the only reason.
So you're saying if the law wasn't there, you would be hanging out with high schoolers?
This is getting real dark.
Or maybe you wouldn't hang out with them because they're fucking retarded, and you shouldn't have sex with them, and it doesn't matter whether the law is there or not.
A friend. Okay, I ran into that one, and I accept the consequences. But one, I haven't hung out with a bunch of teenagers. But that's not my point. Before I get to my point, and I will, right? Fairy Queen, being so kind, for $10. She says, all right, you've all convinced me. No man, even if he once looked like a skinny, sexy 25-year-old Matthew McConaughey, deserves to be president if he allows child marriage. Guess Erica Kirk will have to do. Oh, fuck no.
Erica Kirk. God.
Oh, God. I took a hard turn at the end. FQ. Hell no. 25-year-old. So.
Wait, is she trying to?
Did she say Gavin Newsom looks like a skinny, sexy 25-year-old
man?
Hold on.
Is she trying to? Is this like a secret riz of Erica Kirk right here, though? Kind of. She's like, I don't have to do. I need a.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm a little confused.
First of all, Gavin Newsom looks like an aging model, right? Like he's like past his prime, right? But he's still trying to keep it all together, and so he's getting work done. And he's like,
I don't know. He kind of looks like a trust fund kid to me. More
he looks
than
like
an
a
Prime is right on this. Prime's right.
But fair enough. Sure.
So I get it. He's for the most part easy on the eyes.
Will Gavin Newsom get a BBL? Is the next question.
He's a shitlib. He's a shit-lived. Fuck Gavin Newsom, but I appreciate. I appreciate the support. And I think that there's so many better politicians. Like fall in love. Hold on, JB Pritzker,
Anna Paulina Luna,
JB Pritzker, in Illinois, I believe. Right? I think he's a good-looking guy. Especially he's a billionaire. Right? And money like takes off the pounds.
He is not attractive.
For all the money that he has, I think he's extremely attractive.
Maybe.
And
I'm
for
looking for a sugar daddy now.
And his politics, I think, are so far.
Look, I'm not saying I wouldn't do it. I'm just saying he's not attractive. Okay.
I'm saying that the money makes him attractive. I think that's part of the equation.
You close your nose and then you get the billion.
He looks like the memes of JD Vance where they keep adding weight to him.
That's
he does.
I'll give you that one. Yeah, that's fair enough. I have better taste. Fairy Queen. That's all I ask. Have better taste. But shout out to you. Okay, back to it. I'm gonna get my point out. Hopefully now we'll see. The implication here, I imagine, that 16-year-olds lack wisdom. Is that the implication? Okay, great.
And they also lack a sufficient level of brain development. They're like actually stupid. Or as Scott would say, they're like actually retarded. They're just
sure. I look at the Facebook moms. I look at the individuals who cannot distinguish reality from a computer generated image. I look at all these individuals who can vote, and clearly we don't presently. Would like to change this. This actually discriminate on wisdom or knowledge or anything or IQ. We don't do that. So I don't think that should factor in. What I understand is that the law, right, is we're telling these young people that they are going to have to interact with a society that doesn't actually take their voice into account. That laws and policies that affect them they aren't are voting on. So yes, we should lower the age so that they can interact with that. I think it's good for civic, just for civic. What is it? Civic engagement. Yes, civic engagement.
So should they be able to have sex?
1 second. For civic engagement, we should be training people younger to interact with politics, right? To think about these things critically, get them started young. Because if we send them out in the world,
should we get them started young with like sucking penis?
What about OF? Should they start?
We got to teach them to engage out into the world.
For the promising OF careers.
Send them out into the world, right? And
we're
like
service economy now.
We don't actually.
Damn, Scott.
You know what I mean?
We don't actually train people to engage with civil society. We don't actually do that in this country, and it's a shame, right? And so people know very little about it. They know very little about how their government runs. I would think this would be a great way of doing that. Get them started young, get them engaging, and thinking about these topics so they can do it critically. Yes, absolutely, we should do it.
But can you answer my question though? Should we get them started young with blowjobs?
I got to practice for the service
gateway drug.
America's moved to.
I'm being genuine here. I know it's a joke, but I'm being 100% here, right? If the rationale is that this person has the mental capacity and the maturity to be able to make a decision that affects the lives of 330 to 350, depending on how conspiracy theorists you get with illegal immigrants, right? Right? But let's just say 330 million Americans. Should they not also have the right to determine one person, which is their own body, what happens to their body? How can you say that they lack the capacity to be able to do with their body what they want to do with their body and engage in sexual relations with other people because they understand the consequences of their actions and what it entails, that they're incapable of that decision, but that they're capable of having a voice of what happens to 330 million other people's bodies and property?
Yeah, so like I said, we don't actually judge this based on wisdom one way or the other, right? We draw arbitrary lines. I think you at least agree with that. As to
but that doesn't pertain to the argument. That only pertains to the argument if the arbitrary line is the same. What is the principal difference? Between voting and sexual activity, in which the sexual one remains stable and the voting gets lowered, right? How can you argue that someone is simultaneously responsible enough, knowledgeable enough, wise enough, whatever it is, to be able to vote for the lives of 330 million Americans, but can't decide what to do with their own body?
Okay.
Good question.
I'll deal with this. Prime will never make a case for children having sex. Okay, Prime won't do it. Prime will not do it.
So then will you give up on your belief?
No, absolutely not. Of course not, because voting is different from having sex. Those are two different actions.
Okay, explain to me why my question is wrong or answer.
I'm literally talking. You're like, let me get it out.
Dancing.
I'm not dancing about anything. I'm giving a very reasonable.
Go ahead. Go.
That Prime will never.
Don't distance yourself from the question, man. Come on, just bite the bullet. What's the difference? Why?
I'm not biting. I know. I'm already giving you my answer, right? We draw arbitrary lines in the sand, right? I don't think there is.
That's not an answer.
Hold on. Hold on. I'm going to give you my answer. I'm going to give you my answer, and then you can respond after I give you my answer, right? And then we can go have it back and forth. But if you keep interrupting me before I give you the answer, then you don't actually have something to work with. So let me give the answer, please.
Give it. Come on.
I appreciate it. Thank you. So, we draw.
Hurry up, Prime. You gonna give your argument? Go ahead, Prime.
We draw arbitrary lines in the sand, and I'm fine with saying that sex is another arbitrary line. That sex, and you guys have heard me argue this before, that should be 25, right? We actually should make that later. But specifically here, I say engaging with civil society is an important enough goal that we should be lowering the age. We should be encouraging people to be able to do that, because there's a greater good for the country, right? If we have a more engaged population, I don't see the greater good for having a more sexualized teenage population. Maybe if you can think of one, fair enough. But
I'm against voting, so yeah. So, but
okay, well fair.
But nevertheless,
okay, sure,
right? So the argument that I'm putting forward, right, is that I already explained that yes, that age is a contradiction here, right? That is arbitrary here, right? That some people mature faster and some people mature slower, etc. The problem that I have here is that what you are claiming is that this person has the capacity, be it wisdom, be it intelligence, be it whatever, to be able to determine or have a portion of the determination of the bodies, lives, property rights, economy of 330 million people, but that they lack that same capacity when it comes to sex. And the answer of, well, it's just arbitrary, I'll accept that answer. But I want to dig into that. The reason those two are arbitrarily different is because even if you can't articulate it, you know that there's something wrong with a child having sex. And what I am saying is that something wrong that you are feeling is that they lack the capacity to understand the consequences of their actions, their body, to engage in meaningful relationships. And because of that, that is the reason why they also lack the capacity to be an informed voter. And that, yes, I have no problem with you saying, let's have public education, have more training on civic engagement or in how our country's politics works and things of that nature. I mean, obviously I do because I'm against public schools, but like that's a rational argument for your perspective. But it's not rational to just say, oh, it's arbitrarily different without engaging in why. Where is that feeling coming from?
One, I think that I'm not sure the best way to articulate this. I'm just going to try to just put this out here, right? That the type of intelligence, the category, there are categories of intelligence that a person can be competent and capable in one particular area, right? But that does not transfer to others, right? Like, for instance, you can be a billionaire, right? You could have like won the game of capitalism. That does not mean that you are wise in all areas. You know how we like listen to billionaires about like opining about fucking everything, even though it's completely outside like of the industry that they happen to have succeeded in, right? That's silly. But expand that in anywhere else, right?
I love this argument. I love this argument. I know exactly where you're going with this.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Sure. So there are areas of competency, right? And I think the way that you get competent and different areas can change, can be different. Now, specifically for the topic at hand, without like spiraling too much here, specifically the topic at hand, I think when we're talking about engaging in civil society and learning about politics, learning about how your government works, I think that is a perfectly teachable skill, right? I think I think me, I think most people on this panel, right? We could sit a person down, let them know how the government works, give them lessons about politics through the lens of our own ideology, of course, but still, right? And like teach them, get them on board, right? With like interacting with politics. I don't think we can do that in the same way with intimacy, right? Like, I think there's, I think we have plenty of discussions. I think we have plenty of like information out there about like, the dangers of like, foolish sexual interactions, right? But people still do it any which way. This is just like one of the areas where like it requires like straight up personal experience that no matter, even if I tell you, hey man, like this guy, right? But this guy is bad news for you, bad idea. Well, the fact that I even said that to you makes you want to go fuck him, right? Like, well, I don't know how much.
Yeah, can I engage with that? Can I
go ahead? Sure.
So I'll engage with that. So your argument is that there are different areas of competency that an individual can have, right? And that but that you do not believe that sexual maturity is one of those teachable areas of competency. Yeah. That it requires a certain level of maturity to be able to see bad actors. I would make
said that much more concisely than I did. Thank you.
Right? I would oh, sorry. Well, it's okay. I had the benefit of listening to it and then being able to compile it. Because I know you, much like me, think through speaking. So two arguments about that. So I'll go with the second argument, more of an internal critique. If it is true that that an individual lacks the emotional maturity or experience to be able to discern between bad actors and liars and things of that nature, then this would also be true of teenagers voting for politicians, being unable to determine whether or not a politician is actually true to the words that they're speaking, or whether or not they can trust the character of the individual involved, right? Maybe a 16-year-old has a much harder time understanding that Trump is full of shit and blowing smoke up their ass because they lack the real world experience to understand how politicians lie or how people, the tells and things of that nature. So your argument against one would also be an argument for why they are not prepared to be voters. The first one, right? So the second argument, is also that your claim that there are different levels of competency that can be teachable, I think is a great argument against the very concept of voting itself, because it is impossible for any member of the electorate to be incredibly competent at understanding economic policy, foreign policy, being incredibly competent in understanding CDC policy, pharmaceutical industry policy, policy that as far as it contains to housing, policy as it contains to farming and agricultural reform, all of these things. When we look at all of the things that the state does, nobody is that competent in all those domains, right? I am competent in 1.5 things, right? I'm super competent in ANCAP philosophy, and I'm mildly competent in like psychotherapy. That's it. Corey, for example, super, super, super competent when it comes to probably bioethics concerns and, certain things as it deals with, like tangentially, maybe he's very competent in epidemiology, but not as much as an epidemiologist or things of that nature. He's probably more competent than RFK, right? I'm just throwing that out there. That I don't think that's a crazy statement. But Corey, I've talked with him. Not very competent when it comes to fucking economics, right? No offense, Corey, but I don't think you reach the capacity to be able to actually have a meaningful decision in economic policy in our country.
It's a good thing we don't let him vote
the knowledge
in America.
Right?
We don't let him.
I would say the same thing is true of Canada, right? and so this is so if the argument is that different people have different areas of competency in different things, and that these can be teachable, I agree. But it is also an argument against the very idea that adults that are incompetent in so many domains of their knowledge of the world, for some reason, get a say-so in the election process. So that's number two. And then number one is, of course, the same rationale that you would use for why people are incapable of being teachable in their ability to engage in sexual relationships is the same reason why they would be incapable or insufficient in understanding politicians and who are liars and things of that regard. So I challenge you again to tell me why it is that it is okay for someone to be able to vote, but it is not okay because of some other capacity for them to engage in sexual relationships.
Sure. So, okay, I'll handle the first thing. I think that I don't know if there is an age, right, where people suddenly are able to distinguish like a politician's lies from truth, right? I think
some people never reach that age.
Yeah,
right? A lot of them. We call them MAGA or we call them Democrats.
Fair enough. Look, and I'm with you. I'm with you here, right? Like I've watched both sides do that. I've watched. Okay, I won't drag it out, but like I I agree with your statement there. But so yeah, so I don't know, like that in itself doesn't factor in, right? The fact that yes, a person might have difficulty telling an intimate partner, like telling if an intimate partner is a liar or not, right? One, like that, even we have 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds who still haven't figured that out, right? Who still foolishly get into
the movie 40-Year-Old Virgin, right?
Yeah, and again, I'd say that we don't actually judge. That never like comes into the argument as to like when they should be allowed to like have those relations.
The argument is that age is an arbitrary number. I get, but it's about the distinction between the two.
Yeah, well, Prime kind of a good point here, though. I think that to some extent, right? Like if you say you could work at 16, and you have to pay taxes. So do we not believe in no taxation without representation? Like, I mean, I think there is some validity.
Yeah, I would get rid of taxes for underage people.
Sure. I know that you. I mean, I'm okay with that as well. But I
get rid of taxes for everyone if I could.
I think
those overage people.
If you're paying taxes and you're affected by economic policy, the idea that you should have some say in it, I mean, at least hold some water for me. I think, like when
I mean, like early America's, the way that they distinguish who could and couldn't vote was by property ownership, right? But if we instituted that today, what you would have is a whole bunch of boomers that were voting to inflate the housing market so that fucking young people couldn't do that.
I think we should vote by
here's
how
what I
much
think is the actual
you get
distinction.
More votes for each acre you own.
Yeah, there you go. Landlords becomes the most voting power. Yeah, that'll work out great. So, Prime, here's what I think the truth is, and I'm not saying that you're lying, right? I'm not calling you a liar, but here's what I think the actual point of distinction is for you in your mind. And maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, maybe you see it, maybe you don't. I think it kind of comes down to that famous quote that Stalin said, supposedly to Winston Churchill, which is the death of a million is a statistic and the death of one is a tragedy. I think that what is happening is that you look at sexual intercourse with a specific person as this abuse in an abusive relationship because they lack the mental capacity to engage in appropriate relationships as a tragedy because you're thinking of it at the individual level. But when you think about someone voting for 330 million people's economic taxes, property rights, and things of that nature, you think of it like a statistic. You are separated from the actual tragedy of what occurs when taxes go up and someone loses a job and becomes a fent addict somewhere in Appalachia, or when regulations increase and small businesses get pushed out of the market. But you think of it in a more abstract way because it's 330 million Americans. And so it's very easy to say, well, these people, these teenagers are affected by the law, so why not have a say? But when it's an individual relationship where abuse can be a part of that mechanism, you start going, oh, well, I see this abuse and that feels wrong and I don't want that person to be taken advantage of. And maybe you haven't connected that the very idea of voting is an abuse of 330 million Americans.
So, one, I don't believe it is an abuse. Though I acknowledge your...
It is for the losers.
I acknowledge your position, Frank. Well, I mean, I don't think that my friend Gibbs, like who voted, or Lactoid who voted for Trump, right, abused me, because Trump is a fucking disaster, as it's been proven, right, destroying the economy. But I don't think that, like,
what if he says I voted for this?
Like the Lactoid or said he voted.
Well, let's say somebody votes for Trump, right, and they voted for Trump because they love tariffs. And you're at the grocery store paying, or you're at fucking Best Buy trying to buy a new microphone for your setup, and you're like, fuck this. And then someone goes, I voted for this.
I did vote.
Why would that not be abusive? When they used their ability and intentionally tried to put someone in power that made your life harder, made your life more expensive, and put a burden on you from the pressures of state power.
Scott.
I think
that's the whole fucking point. That's why I'm here.
It's not worth the win. It's not worth the win.
No, I don't. I think we're expanding the term abuse here. Look, hold on. But before we get there, like I just want to like engage what you had said previously. When you had been talking before, I had considered this. So before you said the thing that you said, right? Like saying like, oh, the death of millions or something, is a statistic, right? I had arrived at that conclusion when we were speaking. Like, hey, okay, am I saying that a bad decision in one area is fine because it's more personal, right? But like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I think that like the reason why I don't think children should engage in sex doesn't necessarily have to do with abuse, right? Abuse is part of it, right? But I also know that children do engage in sex, even though Prime does not promote that, right? But they have plenty of good experiences. I think a lot of pre-adult sexual experiences.
Getting a little Voshy here, like be careful.
I'm trying to be very careful here. I'm trying to be so careful. That there's a lot of
queer theorist David. Oh God, I can't remember his name. David Halpern. Right, you're getting a little David Halpern, that queer theorist, talking about age of consent and queer theory and the concept of children having sex in an age of consentless society.
Prime,
super famous queer theorist in terms of the literature.
Prime is being very careful with his words. So, but I know that people do, right? And so, like, if I look at the statistics, like, and the cost, like, analysis, it could be the case. It could be the case that, and I don't know if it's the case, but it could be the case that if we did lower the age of sexual consent to 16, which I'm not advocating for, but if we did, right, it might be the case that the vast majority of individuals have positive experiences. But should we allow children to do that? No, I think probably we should have them wait, right? I think we should try to protect them as long as possible from this area. Like I said, that we can't necessarily give them competency.
I agree, but the problem is the distinction between that and them having control over other people's lives.
Again, I that control is. I'll handle. Okay, before then, I'll go to the second thing you said, right? About like anyone being able to vote. Well, like I've had this conversation with my friend Doobie, and Doobie is very skeptical of the idea of voting, right? And very much so limited. I think him and Lactard are very, very simpatico here. Very much want to limit the franchise for all the reasons that you stated, right? For the lack of confidence, and
I look at voting the way anarcho-syndicalists look at property. For the miners, the mines. For the schools, the teachers. You know what I mean? Like, why are fucking people that have no concept of something voting for things that they have no concept of? Like, children or adults alike.
I can't fully disagree with you. It's hard for me to argue against Doobie's point. I think Doobie makes a very compelling point when he lays out his preferred system of government. My only problem is that, like, who is actually going to be making the decisions afterwards, right? And I know as an ANCAP, you have your own answer.
No. I totally understand that fear. That's a legitimate fear, right? Like, I don't want the CEO of Palantir to be the only guy in charge of data in this country, right? Yeah. Like I understand that there's a my vision for a future of Ancapistan is very different than a policy in the current status quo where we restrict voting towards those that are only experts, because really then we just funnel things more into the economic calculation problem where you have central planners. But again, the argument is about the distinction between the age of consent and voting.
Yeah, but I'm handling another part of what you said, right? So like, I understand that no one like voting is a flawed system. Democracy is an extremely flawed system. I don't look at it as perfect. And, what Connor was saying previously when he was here, right? It's like, democracy is the, worst system except for all the other ones or something.
The Winston Churchill quote. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that statement. And so, like, understanding that we're working within a flawed paradigm, right? Understanding that all we have are flawed individuals. I'm willing to try to get people on board and engage and hopefully to be better participants in civil society earlier as part of their education, like fully integrated into their education. Hey, like, not telling them who to vote for, of course, but like, hey, elections coming up soon. It's going to be your first time.
Sounds like transformative social emotional learning, right? Getting children engaged at a young age in a critical democracy. It doesn't sound like you have any actual specific arguments for the claim, right? Which is that there is a substantive difference between the individual having sex and and the individual having control over other people's bodies at a larger scale. And the thing here is, right, is like when I was arguing about what I was doing is I was doing an internal critique of your logic, which was that you believed that this was an area in which they could be trained for, that there was that given sufficient knowledge, they would then pass the bar of some level of understanding or competency in order to be able to make rational decisions about that. And that if we agree that there are varying degrees of competency, that presents a problem for the very stupid Facebook moms that you denigrated earlier, or for whatever other uninformed voter. And so if you're going to make that argument, I kind of don't necessarily disagree with that argument, but I wanted to just point out to you that that argument is an argument against the effectiveness of democracy itself. And then the other argument was about the distinction between the age of consent and the age of voting being based upon the concept that someone at 16 lacks the emotional maturity to be able to tell the difference between good people and bad people, liars and manipulators, and those who have their best interests at heart. And if it is true that those people lack that capacity, why would they not similarly lack that capacity in being able to tell which politicians have their best interests at heart, or are good people or bad people or manipulators?
Matter the age. All of them.
I have to go. So
Okay.
Good to see you guys.
I also have to
I actually have to bail as well. I was trying to hang out.
Boom, like dominoes.
It is 10:30 or
11:30.
Yeah. All right.
Time zones.
Okay.
See you guys.
It's 11:29. All right, you fuckers are leaving a minute early.
Yeah, a minute early. This will be held against you. All of
good.
you.
Hold it right there against me.
Sorry, I'll be good.
Yeah.
Scott, give me hit me up sometime. We need to talk about the.
Yeah, for sure. Are you available tomorrow?
Yeah, actually, I am. Shockingly, that's a.
I'm going to be doing just like random work. I'm not going to be streaming tomorrow, so yeah, hit me up.
Yeah, man, sounds good.
Or I'll hit you up. It's fine.
That's even better. All right, see you guys.